No comment.
This is not correct when you understand the standards of investigation. As standard of investigations, we don't arrest to investigate. We had to gather a lot of things before we could say now we're having a case against the applicant.
The panel interviewing candidates for the 3 vacant IEC commissioner positions has adjourned. The panel, led by Chief Justice Mandi Samaya, has over the last 2 days interviewed a total number of 10 candidates ranging in skills and experience for the positions. The panel will now deliberate on the fitness of each to hold office and is expected in due course to make recommendations to the President. The British government has said corrupt foreign officials, including police who profit from people smuggling, will have their UK assets frozen as part of an intensified effort to stem illegal migration. The Foreign Secretary, David Lemmy, said border guards who provided fake documents would be among those targeted, as would others involved in trafficking activities.
We will go after the smugglers. We will go after their enablers. We will go after those who sell engines. We will go after those who smuggle people. We will bear down on them. And of course it will have effect when we're talking about a 10 billion industry. Of course it can have effect if we freeze their accounts and issue travel bans.
Recapping the top story, the newly appointed Minister of Higher Education and Training, Buti Manamela, and one of his deputies, Nomusa Dube-Ncube, will be sworn in this afternoon at Danehays. Manamela replaces former Minister Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, who was axed yesterday. I'm on Dilambana for SFM News. It lies at 3:30.
In sports this hour, Banyana positive ahead of Nigeria clash, and Alcaraz withdraws from Montreal event for Wimbledon recovery. More details at 3:30.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the Soundtrack of Your Life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
You know, we often talk about the fact that in the news cycle or the news space, 24 hours is a very, very long time. So yesterday, this time, we were talking about, when we spoke about the Minister of Higher Education, we were referring all the time during this show to Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane. But she's not in power any longer, as you know. Late yesterday, like literally around 6 o'clock, as the show ended, we got confirmation first from her via her tweet of a goodbye, and then we found out that in fact we now have a new Minister of Higher Education and Training, and that is the Minister Buti Manamela, right? So that's just one thing. It does tell you so many things and how they change. Also, in terms of a name that's come up just about at least once a week on the show, Ibrahim Traore and what he's doing with Burkina Faso. I wonder what you make of this, where he's pushing for the scrapping of that country's electoral commission to take control of future elections. I mean, can you just imagine if something like that happened in South Africa or anywhere else around the world? But that's not all. We'll talk about that too. That's not all. There are more other things we're going to chat about, including some of the issues of challenges to the NPA and maybe not. And we'll try and understand all of that. My name is Ashraf Garda. This is the National Pulse. You, of course, have made the time to listen in, whether listening in is sitting at the office, sitting at home, driving your car, maybe sitting at a gym perhaps, on a paddle court, playing football, whatever it is you do, and whichever way you're catching us via radio, via streaming live, via YouTube, all those options, or the SABC Plus app, welcome to the show. Great to connect with you. You can call in live when you get the chance, 086 000 2032. And then WhatsApp, you have the option to text or voice note us, 0614 104 107. Do tweet using that hashtag, the National Pulse, and then tag SAFM Radio and do tag me. Right, so in the light of those changes, as I've mentioned at the outset, let's try and really understand not so much what happened, but what's at play here. So with me is Samkelo Maseko, the SABC senior political reporter. Samkelo, good to connect with you as always on the National Pulse.
A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and to the listeners.
Thank you. So, I often do this, and let me put this to you too. A lot of things have happened in the last 24 hours, and we can probably discuss each one in detail. But if you had to reduce it to one word that best describes the state of affairs of what happened, what would you say?
It's a political theater, if one may put it like that. It's that of political negotiation, where the president is essentially saying to the Democratic Alliance, to give you something, I'm going to the olive branch. It is ultimately up to you whether you decide to vote for the departmental budgets that are going to be voted on in Parliament this week, one by one, or you also vote for the appropriations bill that is going to be brought before Parliament, which is part of South Africa's budgetary requirements in order to pass the budget. Those are some of the issues that the DA had issues with, saying that they would not vote for the budgets of corrupt, alleged ANC ministers like Thembisi Melani, like Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, who's ultimately been fired yesterday by President Ramaphosa. And they ultimately saw the ANC this week entering into negotiations with the DA, trying to persuade them to vote for these departmental budgets and to vote for the appropriations bill.
Okay, but interesting, you use the word political theatre, and, my very, very loose definition of theatre is it's all an act, it's a play, right? So, but, did he have any other choice? Because on the one hand, if he did nothing, the president, that is, it would be a case of either indecisive or, in fact, doing nothing regarding a minister from his own political party versus a minister or deputy minister from another political party, as you know we discussed a couple of weeks back.
The issue with the president is that he always acts. He just doesn't act in the time that South Africans want. He always plays the long-winded game, takes his time, applies his mind, investigates and asks for thorough reports from ministers, and then ultimately takes action. So the issue of Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane was long coming. The writing was always on the wall. It was just a matter of when the trigger will ultimately be pulled. What we are seeing is that the president ultimately took a decision that will benefit the greater government at large, that will also give an olive branch to the DA to vote for all the departmental budgets. And if the DA decides to vote for against one particular departmental budget, it will ultimately mean that the DA is defining itself outside of the government of national unity once again, and it will further fuel those inside the ANC's NEC to say, no, we must get rid of the DA, remove the DA from the GNU, bring in the economic freedom fighters that are arguably waiting at the doorstep and just knocking, waiting to be let in once the DA leaves. Okay,
so in light of what you just said, still, is that political theatre or is that statesmanship?
It is political theatre, and it is negotiation tactics that are being employed by the president, but it also does show that he is hamstrung by the Democratic Alliance. He's fed up by the DA, but he's also saying that let me give them one more chance. If they don't receive or take this particular olive branch, then ultimately the ANC's National Executive Committee will have to table and take a decision. Hence, you do know that the ANC was meant to meet last weekend. That meeting ended up being postponed to give the ANC NWC and the officials of the ANC an ample number of time to be able to compile a particular report that will show the state of the government of national unity to be presented before the ANC's National Executive Committee and for certain decisions to be taken. Whether they keep the DA, whether they decide to remove the DA, or whether they try to take another process to persuade the economic freedom fighters to come in and dilute the influence that the DA has within the government of national unity.
Okay. Is it fair to say that after the, not so much allegations, after what happened around the former minister in Kabane and in terms of the issues around the CETAs, that in fact, never mind the political theatre and the political chess games that may be playing out, in fact, actually, the president was checkmated in the sense that he really had no choice but to act the way he did, whether it took 1 week or 1 month. He had to act.
You can't checkmate someone when there's daring evidence that the minister was incapacitated and the minister basically chewed up her job. The minister, the writing was always on the wall. It was Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, who had to call her to say reverse those particular appointments of all of those board chairs of the CETAs that she had appointed. It will ultimately then tell you that the ANC SG, the ANC president, and other ANC officials were already fed up with Nobuhle Nkabane. It was just a matter of time before the president pulled the trigger, but the president also had to mitigate political machinations of the ANC because Nobuhle Nkabane comes from the province of KwaZulu-Natal. The ANC had been hammered within that particular province. You don't want to further aggravate the people of KZN and saying that they are not wanted in the national political discourse of President Ramaphosa by removing one of their own. By removing her, you then have to bring in someone else from KwaZulu-Natal, like a seasoned politician, like Nomusa Dube-Ncube, Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube, who is the former Premier of KZN, former MEC of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, and former MEC of Finance within that particular province into the fold, and ultimately she's now the Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training. So he was mitigating politics of the ANC, but also disciplining someone who had ultimately gone rogue and chewed up her department.
Okay, now of course the DA, no surprises, tweeted about it last night, and they said, and I'm quoting, "Victory against ANC cadre corruption. After relentless DA pressure, ANC Minister Nobuhle Nkabane has been removed after misleading Parliament." And then say the DA remains committed to rescuing South Africa. We will keep pushing back against corruption. I mean, I hear that. And I mean, there's not a day. Yeah, there's not a day that different political parties stop taking credit for whatever gets played out on the national agenda. I mean, so is the DA justified in saying what they've said?
Has Nobuhle Nkabane been found of any corruption? I've not heard any court judgment saying that she's been found of wrongdoing, of corruption, of stealing any public funds. Yes, there was a halabaloo, particularly of political nepotism in appointing the son of Gwede Mantashe as the chairperson of one of the CETA boards, appointing Nomusa Dube-Ncube, and having a flawed process in selecting these chairpersons of these particular committees and lying to Parliament that it was an expert panel when it was not, but it was definitely not corruption. So I don't want to be caught up in political theatre of political parties that speak about corruption that is not evidently there at that point in time. But when you speak about misleading Parliament, when you speak about lying that there was a professional panel that was appointed to select and to interview the processes of these board chairs, certainly, Democratic Alliance 100% correct. But when it comes to corruption, I can't report on something that is not there at this point in time.
Point well made. What about then the position of the appointment of Buti Manamela, who's been the deputy in the same portfolio, in the same department, in fact, for quite a number of years?
Buti Manamela is a seasoned politician. He's worked tremendously within the education sector. When he was in the Young Communist League, he led a campaign of sanitary towns to restore the dignity of poor young women within the country. He has effectively played a pivotal role when it comes to the higher education sector after the firing of Mduduzi Manana on his escapade out in a nightclub in the north of Johannesburg in Fourways. and that will ultimately tell you that Buti has earned his stripes within the Department of Higher Education and Training. He has been overlooked for a longer period of time. He did work under Blade Nzimande, who was the Minister of Higher Education and Training for the longest of time. They had their own differences, but it also has marks of a master stroke politically, because Buti Manamela is a Central Committee member of the South African Communist Party, and they are now essentially once again in charge of higher education and training. And that will then question, what will the likes of Buti Manamela do next year in the 2026 local government elections? Will they campaign for the ANC or will they campaign for the South African Communist Party, noting that they are deployed in government by the African National Congress at this point in time? So it is a masterstroke in trying to please and appease the divisions within the tripartite alliance, and in particular with the South African Communist Party that contested in a ward in Seshego where Julius Malema votes, and they only came back with 70 votes, which was 1% of the vote, a rather embarrassing outcome for the SACP that largely over a period of time overestimates and over-exaggerates its non-existent power.
Now, we know that the president ultimately has the discretionary powers to make these decisions in terms of appointing, ministers to cabinet or his executive, right? But in practical terms, is that what happens? What I'm saying is the decision made to axe now the former Minister of Education and replace her with Buti Manamela, is that a decision of the president of the ANC or the president of the Tripartite Alliance or the president of the GNU? And I mean, does he get guided by that, or do you have a sense that, in fact, ultimately, it is him who makes that call?
Political terminology in this country gets very lost very quickly. There is no president of the GNU. There is the president of the Republic of South Africa, who was voted for by members of parliament. There happens to be a government of national unity of different political parties. So President Ramaphosa's firing of Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane was a decision that he ultimately took that is the first purview of the President of the Republic of South Africa. The appointment of Buti Manamela, the President does not consult alliance partners when it comes to the reshuffles or in an interim period when a minister has done wrong. He ultimately takes the ANC officials into confidence if he wants to. In this instance, yes, the writing was on the wall that Nobuhle Nkabane was going to be fired. He may have taken the ANC officials into confidence that he will be taking drastic decisions during the course of the week. He would be removing her, and he would ultimately say or take into confidence the SG, the DP, and other officials that I will be bringing in this particular individual now as a minister and appointing another one as a deputy minister. But if you look at the South African Constitution and the rule that the president used to appoint Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube as a deputy minister, who is not a member of parliament, it is at the discretion of the president. So we can't usurp the president from his powers.
Okay. I want to ask you very quickly about the MK and the EFF. We'll do that right after this.
The Atlas Lionesses want to capitalize on home ground advantage and secure tickets to the final. But the Black Queens want to be remembered for spoiling the party for the host nation. This is the semi-final contest of the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. Catch the big clash between the North and the West. Morocco versus Ghana. This Tuesday, 22 July at 8:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC 3 at 9 p.m. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So, in conversation with Samkelo Maseko, he says what has happened regarding the replacement of one Minister of Higher Education and Training with another over the last 24 hours is in fact political theatre. What do you make of it? That's his one word or one phrase. What do you make of it? I'll take your calls or your WhatsApp comments like ASAP. So you can call in now. 086 000 2032. WhatsApp 0614 104 107. But to conclude on that conversation, Samkelo, I want to get your thoughts on the MK party. You know, they continuing pushing for the point of a vote of no confidence in the president, in the light of all the things in the last couple of weeks, perhaps, right? What do you make of that?
The MK party has made it very clear that they don't want the president of the country. You look at the personal battle and the personal hatred that is there between former President Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa. So it is no surprise that they would take such a political posture against the president. They rejected the budget. They rejected a number of government initiatives that have been taking place. And it's only their role as an opposition party to oppose. And they have decided to be an opposition that opposes everything, and it is well within their democratic and political rights in parliament. And one only hopes that they will be able to be an effective opposition, as we've seen over the years of the Democratic Alliance. They are a new political party. They are trying to find their feet. I could see earlier on today they had a press briefing, particularly around the issues of the appropriations bill that will be presented in Parliament this week, and ultimately also the departmental budgets that will be voted upon. I saw their experts like Siyabonga Kama and Brian Molefe and others on that particular panel, and their chief whip Colin Makubela briefing earlier on. I'm just not sure of the contents of the debates and the actual nuts and bolts of it, but I do know that it was around the budgetary constraints of the country. So they have taken a posture, and they will not be moving from their posture of being against Ramaphosa.
Okay, no surprise. In fact, we'll chat to Brian Molefe from the MK party at about 5:10 today anyway. And the last thing, there were stories over the weekend that in fact the EFF maybe reconsider their position regarding the GNU, and it's now come out that in fact no such thing. They will certainly not consider joining the GNU in its current format. I mean, that's not a surprise, is it?
It's not a surprise. The EFF has been very clear that they will not join a government of national unity that still encompasses and includes the Democratic Alliance. It's a posture that they've been remaining principled on, and they are not moving from that particular point. Just the mere fact that they've taken the president and written a legal letter where he was supposed to respond to the EFF yesterday on the appointment of Professor Kachalia as an acting minister of police. They are against that particular posture, saying they are waiting for the president to respond to them. They do not want to jump the gun and go straight to the Constitutional Court, which the MK party has done, in saying that it is unconstitutional for the president to appoint an acting minister of police who's not a member of cabinet at this point in time. That will be ventilated in a court of law, but also it is one of the sticky points of the South African Constitution when it comes to the appointing of members of members of the executive who are not members of parliament. That's going to be ventilated. Some are saying the president is well within his law, that he will then appoint Professor Kachalia as a minister without portfolio upon him accepting this particular appointment as an acting minister of police within the country, and that will then be deemed legally permissible at that point in time. But we wait eagerly to read the corresponding letter of President Ramaphosa to the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, should they decide to release it through Vincent Magwenya or through the communications within the presidency. But at this point in time, there is precedence that has been done within the appointment of someone who's not a member of the executive. It was done with Dr. Khosienzo Ramokgopa in the previous administration.
Okay. Much appreciate you giving off your time, Samkele Maseko, in fact, and sharing your insights into what you describe as political theatre. Well, this is the National Pulse. It means I have a chance to talk to you because you also are on the pulse. I need to feel you.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. You're listening to the National Pulse.
And you've got all those options in terms of listening or hearing or watching in whichever way you're up for it. Do download the SABC Plus app as well. In Mbusi in the Free State, you're live. Go for it. Hello.
Hi, Ashraf, and good afternoon to the listeners as well.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Go for it.
Ashraf, quick 2 points. How is Samgelo's commentary really commentary of any value when, in my opinion, he's really commenting on things that we know? How is it new? How is it something new or something that's adding value?
So what did you feel?
Dialogue?
I mean, you're part of the audience, obviously, right? Yeah.
I feel that, for example, the appointment of Dr. Nobusa Dube-Ncube, for me, is more of just an ANC appointment, and maybe to try and appease certain sectors of the ANC. I take nothing away from her as a professional, as a consummate a politician as well, and as an academic. I take nothing away. But for me, the same person whose name was on that list is now the Deputy Minister of Higher Education. It's a question mark for me. But the last point, Ashraf, quickly, is that I think the waiting of Ramaphosa, some gonna say he sort of whines and takes a long winding way. I think that has really taken away from the president his credibility. He's no longer a credible person because I think he's not a leader who makes decisions.
Okay, got that. In fact, we hear that often enough. I mean, is that on? Thanks for that, Timbusi. Is that spot on? It takes too long, comes across as indecisive, or in fact, are people being unfair about it? To say, I mean, really, the stakes are high. You can't make decisions in 1 day or 2 days. So what if you take 2 weeks or 3 weeks? I mean, what's going to happen to the country in that period? Think about it. Charlie in Coffee Fontaine, go for it. What's your point?
Good day, Afsham. Somehow, there's a point that I agree with Sabakelo regarding the firing of Nkabane. It was just a ploy to get the DA to come and vote on some of the issues regarding the budget. But don't be fooled. Even if the president was not going to fire that woman, there is no way that the DA is going to leave the GNU. The DA would rather be in the GNU, fight the ANC as if they're not part of the government, then allow the EFF and the MK party to be part of the GNU. Remember, the EFF and the MK party are pro-black parties. They don't compromise when it comes to issues like the issue of expropriation of land without compensation, nationalization of mines and things like that, which is the DA is totally against. So now if the DA is going to say no, because the president doesn't want to fight as incompetent people of each of the ANC, we are leaving the GNU, they will never do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's been lots of arguments between the ANC and the DA, but ultimately they realize they literally are in it together. Thank you for that. Here's one quick WhatsApp before we get to the news headlines. Here's one.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This minister, actually, Ramaphosa is just hiding this minister from the truth. He's just hiding this minister from telling the truth, because she was going to be grilled in parliament to tell the truth.
If that's the case, remember someone said the other day, in fact, those names for the chairpersons of the various CETA boards was literally given to her by somebody, and not even her choice. But the question is, who is that somebody? I'm not saying it's true, but if that is the case, then who is that somebody? Right, time for the news headlines, 3:30, here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the Patriotic Alliance's Deputy President, Kenny Kunene, has denied having a relationship with businessman Kadiso KT Molefe after he was found at the home of the Gauteng businessman during a police operation. The newly appointed Minister of Higher Education and Training, Buti Manamela, and one of his deputies, Nomusa Dube-Ncube, will be sworn in this afternoon at Dainheis. Manamela replaces former Minister Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, who was axed yesterday. And judgment has been reserved in the matter where Thabo Pastor was appealing for the dismissal of his application for sufficient time with his legal team and access to an electronic device to prepare for trial. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Empire Road eastbound in Bromfontein is slow moving at the M1 highway. Malibongo Drive westbound in Sharon Lee, slow moving towards President Forshire Drive, and Eskem Drive northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Mood Street. In KZN, Umgeni Road westbound, slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, Victoria Road outbound, slow moving through Woodstock. Jan Smuts Drive in Pinelands is where a crash is reported. This is on the on-ramp to the N2 outbound. And Strand Road eastbound in Stickland, slow moving towards the R300 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The Business of Sports with Tumi Nkapele.
I suppose it is the business of sport. If it's my business, what's going to happen to Banyana Under? They're playing today.
They are playing today. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, they, as you did say, Banyana take to the field tonight against 9-time champions Nigeria in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations semi-final. The Super Falcons have dominated this rivalry, winning 15 of 23 past meetings, but recent encounters suggest that the tide might just be turning. And Banyana coach Desiree Ella says that they will have to be on top of their game to win.
I don't think it means a lot. It does mean that, we can get over the line. But I think past results don't really mean anything because it's a different tournament. It's 3 years down the line. It's a different tournament. It's a different coach. Some new players as well. But it's the same Nigeria. The quality that they have. They've always had the quality. So we have to be on top of our game, to make sure that we get over the hurdle. They're the only country that has defended back-to-back on numerous occasions, and it would be big for our country. If we could do that, I think when we won the last tournament, we said that medal is going to mean so much. But we're here for a professional league, and hopefully, people realize how important it is for us to get that professional league together.
Well, kickoff is at 6 p.m. South African time. In the other semi, Morocco faces Ghana as the nation's quest to lift the trophy on home soil continues. In cricket, South Africa's new selection convener, Patrick Moroney, has made it clear that his tenure will not be based on racial politics. He starts his new job on the 1st of August and will have a tough time navigating that topic with a senior national team that has failed to reach its own transformation targets in recent past.
Ultimately, I would like to think that in time that goes by, that we will not have to talk about race and balance and team selection in the same sentence. But it is something that we have, that we're working with. Ultimately, we try and select the best possible players, the best 11, the best squads to be on the field. It's also a perception sometimes that player X or Y doesn't deserve necessarily to be in the team, or another player should have been in their place in the team. But we're working hard, not only at Proteas level, but all the way down the pipeline to make sure that these kind of discussions and scenarios that we're referring to can ultimately not be a problem in the future. So that we can make sure that everybody that sees the 11 on the field understands and believes that that's the best 11.
Then moving on to golf, Tiger Woods, who missed the 2025 golf season with a ruptured left Achilles tendon, walked around Brook Hollow Golf Club yesterday to watch his son Charlie compete at the US Junior Amateur. Now, Woods underwent surgery in March, and there has been no timetable for his return to competition. With yesterday's appearance, it might be a hint at his fitness. Charlie Woods fired an 11 over par 81 in the first round of the US Golf Association event at Dallas with 2 birdies, 5 bogeys and 4 double bogeys to share 242nd place. In tennis, world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz has withdrawn from next week's ATP Canadian Open in Toronto to recover from Wimbledon. The 22-year-old lost to top-ranked Jannik Sinner in the Wimbledon final earlier this month in a bid for his 3rd consecutive crown in the Grass Court Classic. Now, Alcaraz had his best Canada run in 2023, falling to American Tommy Paul in the quarterfinals. Anything's off with cycling. Mathieu van der Poel has been forced to abandon the Tour de France due to pneumonia. The 30-year-old was 62nd in the Tour standings after stage 15. In terms of stage 16 of the Tour, a 171.5 kilometer ride begins later on today. And Ashraf, definitely looking forward to that game. Banyana, I personally feel I agree with Coach Desiree Ellis that they do need to be on their A game. They need to score goals.
Because the other game was a goalless draw, right? Against Senegal.
Yeah.
And then, the penalty shootout is a lottery. Never mind, our goalkeeper made some saves. You don't want to go through that nonsense again.
Not again.
It's too stressful.
Especially against Nigeria.
Well, so score goals. The message is very clear. Can you take the baton and score the goals?
My name is Casey Gordon. I'm the Banyana goalkeeper. My favorite music is all over the place. I love listening to all kinds of things, but I'd have to say maybe pop culture. My favorite pet is my cat. I love cats. They're so cute. My cat's name is Bailey. My favorite dish is pizza. Obviously, it's not a great dish as an athlete, but I love pizza. When I'm not playing football, I love to be with my friends and my family, and I love playing netball as well.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Outsurance will do all they can to save you money on your car insurance premium. But what if they just can't? Well, they'll give you cash just for trying. That's right, just ask for 500 Rand cash. But wait, there's more. If you don't save and have been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years, you can ask for 1,500 Rand cash. Savings or cash, you always get something out.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
What does you always get something out mean to you, Lorette?
Outsurance made it possible for us to live our dream to travel more with the money in our pocket that we save.
Let me know, what is it?
725. It was unbelievable. My husband, he sits there on the chair and he's just nodding his head and say, yes, yes, yes. This is really not just an advertisement. This is really real.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Hear the rhythm, feel the heat at the Imbaula Music Festival in partnership with SAFM, where music, culture and community come alive. Join us on the 2nd of August 2025 at Pretoria Botanical Gardens from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to vibe to Sanal musician Calvin Momo, Amanda Black, Zing Ngumalo, Trompis and many more. More than just music. Share stories, spark change, and unite against gender-based violence. Grab your tickets at imbaula.co.za. Brought to you by SAFM and SABC1. Hear the rhythm, feel the heat. Imbaula. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, let's. So, by the way, further comments for you, and I'd like to know what you think. So, as you heard from the analyst suggesting, Samkela Maseko saying it's political theatre. So, what do you make of it? What do you make of the position now of the axing of Nobuhle Nkabane as the Minister of Higher Education and being replaced by Buti Manamela? You have your own thoughts. Give me one word or one line to express your understanding of it all. Now, there's also other issues that we need to understand. And another one of those is the position regarding Burkina Faso. For a long time in the last few months, in fact, there's been lots of glowing praise, certainly on this platform, for Ibrahim Traore, the man who's in charge of Burkina Faso in a coup, of course. And it's like, okay, but that's the way to go about doing things. Very decisive, kicking out the French, being very, very anti-colonial, building up infrastructure in that country at, I would say, a rather breathtaking pace, I think, right? But now there's a significant announcement. Burkina Faso announcing plans to scrap its National Electoral Commission. So that's like the IEC, right? So why? They say high costs and concerns over foreign interference. Okay, so what does this mean for the country? What does it mean for a return to or a transition to democratic rule? And what does it tell you about the leadership of Ibrahim Traore? Let's find out more about it with the African Affairs commentator Charles Nyokonge. Charles, appreciate you chatting to us here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Ashraf, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Thank you. So let's start with that most significant of announcements, the plan to scrap the National Electoral Commission. When you first heard about that, what did you think?
Well, the military-led transitional government of Burkina Faso dissolved the Independent National Election Commission on the 17th of July, largely to replace it with an electoral management system under the Ministry of Territorial Administration, and they've provided reasons for that. And some of these reasons include the imperative to have an electoral system which reflects the state of the country today, they've argued that the electoral commission, which was there since 2015, lacked efficiency or independence, and that it created a situation where they were rubber stamping the centralization of power and that the playing field was not leveled. So to the extent that they have done that, the approach now is to get into some consultative mechanism to come up with a body that is independent of any interference.
So what would then be the difference between, creating a new body that is independent of interference versus what has been present in Burkina Faso right now?
Well, you would agree with me that the current body is one of the last standing institutions or organs that have been there despite the last administration. The last administration which the current junta took over from. So to the extent that a number of reforms have taken place, whether these reforms are in the economic sector, agriculture, fiscal, public audit, road infrastructure, cultural diplomatic reforms, that as far as the governance piece is concerned, that has been left completely untouched. And I think that one way that we could read the fact that they are beginning to get to the electoral body might be that they are indeed getting ready to leave power and find a body which can lead Burkina Faso to a civilian rule.
So who then would appoint this electoral body? Who decides who sits on that body? Who then effectively has, I would think, arbitrary control around decision making, isn't it?
That's a very tricky question, because in the end, the body would have to be appointed by somebody, or even if the consultative processes were done, these consultative processes would lead to recommendations which have to be approved by somebody. To the extent that so, one would ask, as you have rightly done, that what would be the difference between the current and the disbanded electoral commission and the one which is about to be created. I think in the end, what we are going to be looking at is perhaps new faces that will be doing the same thing that the old body was doing.
What are your thoughts? So has there been reaction to that? I mean, besides you, in terms of the public? Because I would think, with all decisions that are made in Burkina Faso, as it would be in South Africa and any other country, it's open to interpretation. And the big issue that we never really know is intention and motive. So therefore, because we don't always know that, there's even multiple interpretations based on that. So what has been the reaction of the people of that region?
I think the reaction, especially from out of Burkina Faso, is that this is continuous perpetuation of human rights violations or violations of anything which has to do with the stabilization or the rights and welfare of the country, that the continual rule of the junta is democratic backsliding, and that they are only creating situations for economic vulnerability because the external world and the external bodies are not going to have faith in the ability to deal with Burkina Faso and any institutions which are there. But another thing is that internally, despite the fact that there are security concerns, that the people in Burkina Faso have seen economic growth of approximately 18 billion to 22 billion between 2022 and 2024. Agricultural gains have increased in rice, millet, and tomatoes. Industrialization and employment of youth has also increased. And these are all symbolic things which affect the bread and butter of the people of Burkina Faso. So to the extent that you saw the people, there's a mixed feeling within the country, and outside the country, there's clear doubt about the legitimacy and the intention of the current junta.
What are your thoughts in terms of the overall leadership of Ibrahim Traoré since he came to power? I mean, there could be pluses and minuses when one analyzes his leadership. There's certainly been massive talkability about him in terms of him capturing the imagination of many people on the African continent because of what comes across as a thumbs up, really, to or fingers up to the former colonial powers, and that sort of attracts a lot of attention. But having said that, if you want us to analyze the pluses and the minuses, what would that be?
I would say Ibrahim Traoré has launched an ambitious program of economic, agricultural, industrial, and cultural reforms, which are largely aimed at reclaiming sovereignty and reduce dependency on foreign powers. The country has seen measurable gains in their GDP, in domestic processing, and in agricultural output. These notwithstanding, these achievements have been overshadowed by a deepening security crisis, rising authoritarianism, and mounting human rights concerns. And the more that these things are prolonged, or the longer it takes to have elections, it's going to be perceived, the gains, the successes or so, or the results of the reforms are going to be seen more from a negative light. So perhaps Ibrahim Traore needs to leave the political stage before he overstays his welcome.
I was just going to ask you that if, and it's hypothetical, I know, if there was an election today, would he win that election or lose it? In terms of maybe what you just said, maybe needs to leave the stage, you'd be doubtful, yeah?
I would be doubtful that he would be willing to leave the stage right now, because there's a sense and there's also enormous attention on him as a person, rather than people focusing on who can actually rise to continue with the reforms which he has started. And we need to agree that in the end, whilst we may not find military leadership plausible, the results which Ibrahim Traore has brought on the table have been plausible if we have to compare them with previous regimes, begging the question and even creating mixed feelings about how we should react to military juntas. And yes, overall we should frown at coups, but in the end, some governments actually leave us with no other alternative than to get into a coup which can perhaps reset the democratic processes of the country, like Burkina Faso.
Well, thanks for explaining that, giving us your insights. And I would think that the audience will agree and they will disagree, but that's the point, isn't it? Sharing your insights to us so that we understand things better. African Affairs commentator Charles Nyonkonge, much appreciate your time as we talk about Burkina Faso with its leader Ibrahim Traore. Definitely a leader that's taken center stage, not just in his country, but I think within changes on the African continent in the last couple of years or so. This is the National Pulse, and that pulse rate continues racing. We'll chat to Edwin Naidu as he gives us his insight into the appointment of Buti Manamela with this important question: can he turn things around? Let's see after this.
A humongous rivalry in African women's football is back on the battlefield. The Super Falcons are highly confident they will keep their hopes of the 10th title alive. However, Banyana Banyana have a mammoth task to silence the green and white. This is the semi-final contest of the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. 9-time African champions Nigeria versus reigning champions South Africa this Tuesday 22 July at 5:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC3 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to SAFM Radio this Mandela Month.
It is in your hands now.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Well, lots more to come on the show. We'll chat to Brigadier Atlenda Mate about significant issues regarding a breakthrough in the DJ Somebody murder case. We'll also chat about the issue surrounding Advocate Andrew Chauke and him being suspended. That comes up later. And later on, after 5 o'clock, we chat to Brian Molefe from the MK Party. So every reason for you to stay connected here to the National Pulse. Let's talk now about Buti Manamela. For the first time I can say it, Minister of Higher Education. Well, there we are. That's a big change from what his position was yesterday. But the question is, can he turn things around? That really is the question that Edwin Naidu has been asking, Head of Education, Startup Higher Education Media Services. Edwin, good to connect with you on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good to talk again.
Absolutely. It's been a while. Thank you for joining us, right? I think the big question, and I'm picking up your piece, right, because you say this and I'm quoting you, the question is, will the affable Buti Manamela, a well-liked and respected leader from the South African Communist Party, put South Africa first, or will he stick with a faltering party to which he is not entirely beholden? Or will he be beholden to his friends? That's some of the murmurs doing the rounds. So many questions just with that one paragraph, Edwin.
Yeah, no, I tend to override sometimes, but I think a lot of questions are being asked. There's a lot of excitement about Buti Manamela's appointment, I must add. People see him as a breath of fresh air. And I think, in many respects, he's been deputy, I think, since 2014. So he should have got the job last year when the president was making appointments, because he'd been immersed in the higher education sector, very liked, very respected. He's also a product of TVET colleges. He, I think, studied electrical engineering, if I'm not mistaken, at Mamelodi TVET College. So, he knows the sector very well. And the questions come because, not because he's done anything wrong, anything to, create the impression that there's fears about him. But, some people tend to say he's been part of the system. He comes with Blade Nzimande baggage. But, there's no such thing, because he's always his own person. And if you recall, there was a couple of years ago, heavy tension and newspaper articles on page 1 of some publications saying that the minister at that time, Blade Nzimande, was very upset that he was being usurped publicly by Manamela. So, Manamela is not a publicity sort of seeking person, but just delivering. So I think, these questions are valid. And when you talk about beholden to the party, we're talking about the ANC, prescribing to ministers what to do. And then a lot of the criticism around Blade Nzimande's time as minister was, the culture of putting your friends in charge of parastatals, or things like the CETAs and skills bodies. So Manamela has been known to, he's been responsible for the insurance CETA among others, and it's been seen and attended a lot of their functions, annual events and stuff like that. Which is why the question is, that's one of the most troubled CETAs. A lot of nonsense going on there. And they've had what you call an unqualified audit 3 times. And that's basically your accounting officer or your CEO not doing their job. And the person was allowed to get away with it. And, that's why we say the question is, CETAs are meant to serve the greater good of South Africa. Manamela is committed to the greater good. He's been talking about TVET colleges, throughout. And it's a chance now for him as minister to say, hey, we want something that's clean, something that's delivering, and we want to ensure that South Africans get value for the money that's put or plowed into the tertiary education system.
So I'll go back to your original point about, will he put South Africa first, or will he stick with the faltering party to which he is not entirely beholden? Because you did say he's very much his own person. So based upon what you know, right, which of the choices is he likely to go for?
I think, he's going to put South Africa first, because he talks, when you listen to him, if you believe, what he's telling you. And I think when you sit and talk to people, as you see them either talking as a politician, giving you the political speak and party line, but he talks differently. He talks about, doing something through TVET colleges, for example, about the millions of unemployed youth. And he sees that as a really transformative or opportunity to transform what we're seeing in South Africa. So he's come through, and he's relatively young, and is not old by any means, but he's experienced. And as a youth leader, I think he knows what's on the pulse of the nation. And you can say, definitely when you're chosen by the president to do a job, you're not going to go and defy, and you're going to stick within the national agenda. I think he knows what that is. And I can't see him, being like his predecessors. I think, I'm not talking about Dr. Nkabane here, I'm talking about Blade Nzimande in particular. So I think he definitely knows what he wants, and it's a chance to understand, and for him to understand and to expand on his vision and make his vision for South Africa, one in which youth have equal opportunities, given the training that they need, and he talks a lot about AI, etc.
I mean, here's the thought. I mean, it's interesting you brought up Blade Nzimande, because I think ultimately the outgoing minister has only been around for just about a year, so it's pretty short. But ultimately, when compared to his predecessors, let's say Blade and the others, he would be judged by that, right? And what the state of the ministry was, say, a year ago versus where it is now and what he can do. So my question is, therefore, when we measure what would be a successful minister or ministry led by him, what would he be looking for? I mean, what would be the goals he would have to score?
Well, I think, the first is to restore trust of South African citizens in the tertiary system. I think currently you find that there's a lot of public versus private universities coming up, or institutions, and many are spending a lot of money to send the children to private institutions rather than public. And those that go to public are funded by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, which we know is in trouble and needed government intervention on many occasions. So for him, it's about ensuring that the system works, benefits South Africans, and that there's credible learning coming out of it. It's also ensuring that it's not just about universities, TVET colleges, CETAs, the National Skills Fund, and until recently we've seen NSFAS, as they call it, being in trouble, but they've got new leadership, which was under Dr. Nkabane's watch, new chairperson and an acting CEO, and they're trying to sort of steady the ship and rectify things that have, long been in place that have plagued the organizations. So it's about getting these organizations to work well and deliver. Secondly, address the funding challenges and in tertiary system, not by looking for more money, but rather looking at how money is spent and ensuring that there's more bang for your buck, so to speak, and getting value for it.
Well, I mean, the last thing is this, and again, I'm quoting from your piece. You're saying he has a wide smile and oozes confidence, but what South Africa needs is for Manamela to break ranks with the ANC to ensure that the country gets a quality tertiary system. We are to news time, so just a quick answer on this one here. I mean, you really think he needs to do that to break ranks for him to deliver excellence in his ministry? It can't be done within the ANC.
I suppose he's got to convince the ANC to agree to this vision, because when you look at it, for years, organizations have been decimated. Organizations have been left to go to ruin. Just look at CETAs. Out of the 21 CETAs, at least 12 of them have had, poor financial records by the Auditor General. So, you can't allow organizations to continue, proceeding without being accountable, without showing results, without benefiting. In fact, the CETAs were supposed to change the paradigm. It hasn't done that. And a lot of private sector companies are not supporting them as well, which needs to be checked on.
Well, thanks for your insights, Edwin Naidu. That's where we're going to leave it. Much appreciate your time. Edwin Naidu is the head of education startup that's called Higher Education Media Services, effectively delivering commentary on the changes at the leadership of the ministry with Buti Manamela now the man in charge. What do you make of that? Let's get the news. It's gone 4 o'clock. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, Kenny Kunene denies having relations with Katiso Molefe and emergency measures in place to cope with heatwave in Greece. For SAFM News, I am Ondela and a very good afternoon. The Patriotic Alliance's Deputy President, Kenny Kunene, has denied having a relationship with businessman Katiso Katie Molefe after he was found at the home of the Gauteng businessman during a police operation. 4 suspects, including Molefe, were arrested in connection with the murder of Opa John Sefoka, popularly known as DJ Somebody. Sefoka was killed in a hail of bullets in Woodmead in November 2022. According to police spokesperson Athlenda Mate, 3 of the suspects are believed to be hitmen, while 1 is believed to have ordered the hit. Kunene says he was merely facilitating an exclusive interview with Molefe and a journalist from his newspaper.
If you look at my online newspaper, it hasn't been that active, and I decided to put together some young people that can then run with it, that are interested in the media space, and to resuscitate it, obviously, and in its own tradition. Africa News Global has always focused on exclusive stories. So they wanted to do an exclusive story, and Mr. Molefe was a person where there was an opportunity to do a story with him. Remember that he has not spoken publicly since his arrest and whilst he was on bail.
The newly appointed Minister of Higher Education and Training, Buti Manamela, and one of his deputies, Nomusa Dube-Ncube, have been sworn in at Dane Hayes. Manamela replaces former Minister Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, who was axed yesterday. Nkabane's axing follows a public outcry after the appointment of SETA board chairpersons, which were said to be politically connected individuals. She later withdrew the appointments. SANParks has appealed to the public not to reveal the location of the Iron Knysna elephant after recent video and photographs of the animal in the Knysna forest on the Guardian route circulated on social media. SANParks spokesperson JP Lowe says they have observed the female elephant over the years through camera traps. He says she is very elusive and avoids humans.
We encourage the public to celebrate her presence responsibly by not revealing the location or trying to track or approach her, as such actions could harm both the elephant as well as those pursuing her. SANParks is currently undertaking a comprehensive risk assessment process to guide any future decisions regarding the management and protection of the Knysna elephant.
Judgment has been reserved in the matter where Thabo Pester was appealing the dismissal of his application for sufficient time with his legal team and access to an electronic device to prepare for trial. The matter was heard virtually by the Free State High Court. Pester is still pushing to get 7 hours of face-to-face consultations with his lawyer. His lawyer, Lerato Muela, insists that prison conditions are preventing him from adequately preparing for trial. The matter is set for a case management hearing on the 19th of September before the trial gets underway in November. And Greece has introduced emergency measures to cope with the heat wave which has hit much of southern Europe. Outdoor work has been stopped in the afternoon and public air-conditioned rooms have been opened as temperatures rise above 40 degrees Celsius. Parts of the Balkans have also been hit by the heat wave. Recapping the top story, the Patriotic Alliance's Deputy President Kenny Kunene has denied having a relationship with businessman Katiso Katie Molefe after he was found at the home of the Gauteng businessman during a police operation. I'm Ndalambana for SFM News, headlines at 4:30.
In sports, the Sawa Sports Department hosts SANParks for Banyana game. Proteas post 134 for 8 in their 20 overs against New Zealand this afternoon, and Pele ready to step up as senior figure at FISU Games. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound slow moving towards Boysons and Allendale Road eastbound in Midrand has delays towards Dane Road. In KZN, the N3 eastbound has a stationary truck after Cliffdale exit, and the M4 southbound slow moving towards the N2 highway exit. In Cape Town, the M5 northbound slow moving towards the N1 Koeberg interchange and the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound queuing towards Hospital Bend. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Nominees will be announced in August. Let us celebrate #IsInJustAGame. Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport, celebrating sporting excellence. When they walk on the pitch, both teams will believe they will triumph, but reality kicks in during 90 minutes of action. Who will dance to victory between UJ ladies and First Touch ladies? This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. UJ Ladies versus First Touch Ladies on Sunday 27 July at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the Soundtrack of Your Life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, I welcome your thoughts on some of the issues we've spoken about already, including that first time chat we had with Sam Keller regarding, just his understanding of the changes that have taken place regarding the leadership of the Department of Higher Education. I'm talking about Sam Keller Maseko from the SABC. Then, of course, the chat with Edwin Naidu. Very similar conversations about the same topics. And then the issue of the leader of Burkina Faso and the changes being made in terms of maybe scrapping that electoral commission and replaced by whatever. All very, very confusing. But that's some parts of it. There are other things as well that you know and you believe moves the National Pulse. And just by the way, the other day I asked you this question and I just want to highlight this too. They said, when we battle to make ends meet, because I see the Minister of Electricity also made the point about higher tariffs just being unaffordable for people. So when we all battle to make ends meet, seriously, how do you do that? How do you make ends meet? I'm asking that because I just want to get to the heart of you and what you feel, because often we somehow ignore the personal human story. So if you're up for it, you could be anonymous if you like. Just seriously, how do you make ends meet? Give me a call, 086 000 2032. Right. Okay, let's get on to another issue that has also been a developing story that we need to be touching on, and that is regarding the police arresting 4 men yesterday in connection with the murder of the popular DJ Opa John Sefoka. Everybody knew him as DJ Somebody. Now, Sefoka was killed in a hail of bullets in Woodmead in Gauteng, November 2022, so just about 3 years ago, right? Another person was also killed in the same incident. Let's find out more about the arrests and the implications thereof with Brigadier Atlenda Mate, the SAPS national spokesperson. As always, good to chat with you, Atlenda. Thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
A very good afternoon to you, and a very good afternoon to your listeners.
All right, so 4 people, 4 men arrested. That is significant. Tell us more.
Well, absolutely. Our teams have been working hard investigating all these cases. So today we brought 2 cases in court. And that, if I can mention, it was the SAPS Political Killings Task Team working with Gauteng organized crime detectives that were working together on both these cases that we brought in court today. The first case was the attempted murder of Tebogo Tobajani, who's an influencer. We added a fifth suspect to her case. On her attempted murder case. So you'll recall that there are two hitmen in her case, her ex-lover's wife, and now we've added one of the hitmen's daughters, a 23-year-old female, who was used in this particular case, and she has been charged with money laundering. Now, our main case for today was the DJ Somebody case, in which we arrested 4 suspects on Monday afternoon in Gauteng. Major breakthrough for us, but for us, we have been working on this case for quite some time. So I'll have to give you a brief background to give you just to shed more light on how we got to where we are today.
Okay.
You'll recall Amand Swart, who was killed in April 2024. He was an employee at QTech, I think it was an engineering company in Vereeniging. He was killed on the 17th of April 2024. And within 3 hours after his killing, Gauteng organized crime detectives then trace his killers. They find his killers, arrest them, seize the firearms that were in their possession. That include an AK-47 and 3 pistols. We immediately seize those firearms. We take them in for ballistics and so on. But then December 2024, fast forward to December 2024, Gauteng Organized Crime then requested the SAPS Political Killings Task Team to get involved in the Amand Swart case as well as the DJ Somebody case to say, we need assistance on this case. The 4th suspect gets arrested, but during December 2024, a ballistics report comes out and says the same murder weapon that was used in the Amand Swart case was also used in the DJ Somebody case, where DJ Somebody and his 2 bodyguards were shot and killed. And it also says, the ballistics report, which was derived from SAPS by a ballistics expert, it also says we are linking these AK-47 and 3 pistols to other 10 high-profile cases. So from then on, we knew that we then had to not rush the investigation, but to work thoroughly. So we took our time investigating, and this week the team felt we are ready for court, and we are ready to bring a case that will be able to stand in court, and that is when the arrests were effected yesterday, 4 suspects. What is interesting, the 4 suspects that are arrested in DJ Somebody case are also the 4 suspects that are arrested on the Amand Swart case. But 2 of the hitmen in both cases are then linked and are charged in the Tebogo Tobajani case.
Sure, it is so complex, isn't it? But certainly the repeat hitman, poses a problem and it confirms what many people do suggest, I suppose, not so much in this case, but in many others, that in fact, these are professional hitmen who are out to do a job, and this is what they do all the time and appears to come through unchecked. What therefore happens next?
So we are quite confident of the case that we are bringing in court. They're still in custody. They've been remanded for 7 days for bail application, for further investigation, and so on. But we are quite confident that the firearm linkages are not the only evidence that we are bringing in court. We are confident that we've got overwhelming evidence. I know everyone is asking, why did it take so long to solve the DJ Somebody case? And I had to explain to say, there are those cases, Ashraf, that you can solve easily. You can effect the arrest within a week or 2 and so on. But the DJ Somebody case was quite complex. It was quite organized. It needed us to take time to conduct a thorough investigation. And then when the time is right, and when our investigators, remember, when you go to court, the investigator must be confident to say, I am ready to submit the docket. I am ready with the case that I have. And I'm quite confident that the case that I will bring before court will be able to stand. So it had to take time, but that was just to ensure that we will be able to defend whatever evidence that we have collected. So there's a lot of work to do. The task team, as well as organized crime detectives, they are continuing with the work. There's still more cases that we are going to be bringing. And I think there are more breakthroughs, most importantly, closure for the families of the victim involved. We need to provide the closure to the DJ Sambodi family, to his two bodyguards, Sibusi Somokwena and Sandile Mieza. Those families really need to get justice, but also we need to know then what was the real motive, why did people have to be executed, but also how many more cases. We are sitting at 10 cases ballistically in terms of the report, but how many more cases are these hitmen linked to? So the work is cut out for us, and it's back to the drawing board for our investigators to continue really with the work.
Well, you're right. How many cases are they linked to, and ultimately who's pulling the strings? Let's leave it at that, because hopefully we get those questions answered sometime in the future. Police spokesperson Brigadier Athlenda Mathe, thank you for your time here on The National Pulse.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. # your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Right, this message is proudly brought to you by Ituba. Now, Mzansi, for as little as 5 rands, you can play Powerball for an estimated 84 million rand jackpot. This today, that is, right? Play Powerball for an estimated 84 million rand jackpot, and you could be celebrating, well, multi-millions. Buy your ticket now, in-store, on the nationallottery.coza, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years old or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. You're listening to the National Pulse.
I just wonder what you make of that conversation I had with Athlenda Mathe in terms of, the issues of these professional hitmen and the same people involved in other cases, according to the evidence of the guns. Like, it sort of confirms what we all know. There are crime syndicates. These are not people who need to commit crimes for food. These are effectively professionals. Can I say this rather crazily? In the same way, some people get hired to play for a professional rugby team. This is their job, and that's what they do. And why do they do it? Because obviously somebody believes it's profitable and they can get away with it. Crazy situation. Let's move on to another issue, and I'm sure you have thoughts on that. Advocate Andrew Chauke, the controversial South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions and an alleged Central State Capture enabler, well, he's been suspended with immediate effect. Yesterday, it's been a busy day for the President. Ramaphosa announced that the decision in terms of Section 14.3 read with 12.6a of the National Prosecuting Authority Act had been taken pending an inquiry into Andrew Chauke's fitness to hold office. So let's understand this. We need to make sense of this. Let's find out with Raisa Pather, who's the senior investigator with Open Secrets. Raisa, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Hi, good afternoon, Ashraf, and to your listeners as well.
Much appreciate your time. Right. I think even as I'm sort of introducing the topic to the audience, people are scratching their head to say, goodness me, we need to understand what has actually happened here. So help us understand it.
Yeah, so for a number of years, there have been allegations swirling about Andrew Chauke's fitness to hold office as the Director of Public Prosecutions in South Gauteng, which is essentially, the Johannesburg district. Enormous work because essentially he's the figure of authority when it comes to prosecutions in Joburg, and Joburg sees a number of important cases. I mean, for example, Chauke has overlooked the 1.2 billion rand corruption case to Kongwa. We've heard that, the PRASA corruption cases are sitting on his desk. And he's also overlooked certain prosecutions, like the prosecution into Johan Bison, the former police commissioner in the Northwest, that have just gone really wrong. There's certain investigations that have made really bad findings against Chauke and other prosecutors who he worked with. This includes the 2012 Mahoro inquiry, that Chauke and others had played a key role into the prosecution of Johan Boyson, who at the time was investigating businessmen linked to Jacob Zuma. And, Mahoro found that there were certainly basis for this prosecution to take place. An internal NPA investigation in 2019 also found that the Boyson case had no sufficient evidence and there was no prospect of successful prosecution, as is required by the NPA's own prosecution policy when it comes to making prosecutorial decisions and undertaking these cases. So there's been serious allegations for a number of years, and it's certainly interesting that it's taken so long for the presidency and the NPA to act on this.
Well, often the president has been described as someone who's just on a perpetual go slow in terms of decision making. But seriously, what informed maybe the long delayed decision on Advocate Andrew Chauke, and therefore, what would be the implications of him being suspended? How do we then internalize the fact that he's been suspended now with immediate effect?
Yeah, so I think Ramaphosa has been facing pressure for a number of years, to take action. We released reports in 2020 talked to about Chauke's bad decisions and, the amount of evidence not fit to hold office. In 2023, the NDPP, Shamila Batoy, wrote to Ramaphosa saying, that we wish for Chauke to be suspended pending an inquiry into his fitness to hold office. And it's taken about 2 years for the president to respond to that. We wrote to the presidency in 2024 to ask for an update on this, and they essentially said we're not going to discuss this in the public domain. Quote, it's a matter between an employee and an employer. But obviously we feel that this is a matter of discussion and public inquiry because of his role in prosecutorial affairs. And so I think, the implication now that Chauke being suspended, he needs to be replaced with someone who is fit, who is able to take firm prosecutorial decisions, and who can be trusted to handle these very sensitive matters on the desk of somebody who is the prosecution's boss in Joburg.
All right, the line's becoming progressively worse. So maybe just a quick question, then we'll wrap it up, Raisa. You made the point about Shamila Batoy making recommendations 2 years ago in terms of her request. How would this change things for her, and who's likely to then be Andrew Chauke's replacement?
So I think, Batoy has for a long time now, it appears, been interested in seeing Chauke being investigated for the allegations that are against him. I think she's made it quite clear that there are internal struggles within the NPA. She recently hinted at interference. We don't know what that means. She said it's not political interference, but interference by prosecutors themselves. And so I think there's serious issues within the NPA, and we certainly hope this is a turning point to see competent and reliable prosecutors appointed to this position of power.
Okay. I'll tell you what, Raisa, let's leave it at that. Just your line's becoming worse. So we'll have to leave it at that. Appreciate your time, Raisa Patha, senior investigator with Open Secrets. But really another intriguing story, long delayed, but decision made then finally with Advocate Andrew Chauke now being suspended with immediate effect. And you think what? I need to hear you. There's also a comment on food prices, and the question I put to you is like, seriously, whether you're in Pretoria or Polokwane or, Port Elizabeth is now Gqeberha, trying to be all the peas there, how do you make ends meet?
You're listening to the National Pulse.
And we certainly had comments with that, with regarding making ends meet. People need to sort and understand the value of financial advice. I made a comment yesterday about school fees, including needing to be tax exempt. The other behavior I noticed at these school parents' meetings is that the parents who miss school fees drive very expensive cars, which draws the conclusion that we value our lifestyle more than our financial well-being. The car is a subjective indicator of financial well-being. It is going to get tougher because the rich are getting richer, and that in turn pushes asset prices up. Cars, property, phones, shopping malls are deemed assets in lifestyle. Investments in finding a financial invest in finding a financial advisor that can help you navigate the complex emotions involved in financial decisions. That comes from Xoli Sile in East London. That may be the best advice people are hearing on the National Pulse all afternoon. Much appreciate that, right? But there's more. I want to pick up more thoughts on that too. Here's another.
Hey, Ashraf, it's Arif here in Cape Town. About how people struggle to make handmaids. Before COVID, I'm an Uber driver. Before COVID, I remember fetching customers month end. You see the trolley full of food. But now, I'm no longer seeing that. I only see people with 2 small plastic bags month end. It's really, really sad. You don't see anymore those trolley full of chicken, full of this. Yeah.
That's one comment. Here's another.
Ashraf, good afternoon, man. Floris here from the beautiful Western Cape. Desiree Ellis said yesterday about fatigue that she's worried about. I hope it was a tactical ploy. You cannot say that in a press a briefing. Nigeria is a very tactical team, and they will really bully our girls. So I hope it's just a tactical ploy. But well done to Banyana. I'm going to root for you girls. Bye-bye.
Well, I hear you. We'll find out after, the game starts at 6 p.m. South African time, right? Tactical ploy or not? Let's find out.
Good afternoon, SAFM and fellow listeners. I'm listening to Kenny Kunene. He's over-explaining why he was at Molefi's house. I don't know what it is, and him always referring to, I'm handing over to young people. He's playing a card here. Something is not smelling nice here. I'm smelling a big, fat, rotten rat. Is only a matter of time. Something is gonna come. Something is gonna be revealed. Something is not smelling right here.
Hey, something. I tell you what, you are so enthusiastic. I promise you, I'm looking at Finya, she's looking at me, and we are smiling as we listen to you. You should say something fishy. I mean, just carry on. Something, yeah.
Good afternoon, SAFM. What's on my mind today is that the markets are not behaving good. Yeah, they are not behaving good. We are having a bad time here as investors. All our investments are on the red. Many of them. When you check the dashboard, you'll see that they are going down. Yeah, Ashraf, this is Nkulego. I'm calling you from Ejozini in KZN. Thank you.
Okay, I hear you, and you see people have those concerns every single day. Thanks for raising that. Appreciate it, right? Okay, 4:30, we've got Tumi in the hot seat. Not quite yet, but before we get to her, let's get the news headlines with Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, Eastern Cape Police are investigating a case of murder after the chief whip of the Emalahleni local municipality was shot dead at his apartment in Komani. SAFA Cape Town President Benay Bailey says a full investigation will be launched after young soccer players from Cape Town were left stranded in Spain. He says the BT Academy, which organized the trip, is not registered with SAFA. And the army in Bangladesh says the number of people killed when an Air Force training jet crashed into a school yesterday has risen to 31. Most of the dead were children. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hoos.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview, queuing on both routes towards Kilulis interchange. The R59 northbound in Alberton, slow moving on the link to the N12 east at Reading interchange, and the N12 eastbound in Oakton, queuing at Komaro Street. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a crash near Prospection Road exit, and the N2 northbound, a stationary vehicle after Spaghetti Junction. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound is slow moving towards Okavango Road exit, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue exit, and Main Road in Rondebosch has a crash reported south of Belmont Road junction. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Chumi, you won't believe it. We are 90 minutes away from 90 minutes of Banyana in the African Cup of Nations, the Women African Cup of Nations semi-final.
Slowly but surely getting there, and the Department of Sports is throwing its weight behind Banyana by hosting a fan park at the Badirile Sports Facility in Randfontein this evening. Fans are urged to rally behind the defending champions and head over to the fan park to support our queens as they push to defend their crown. Meanwhile, Banyana head coach Desiree Ellis has admitted that her side is physically tired, but she has praised their mental coach for helping players to regain their mental strength.
The celebrations afterwards, the togetherness afterwards tells you how it's energized the team, how it's invigorated the team. It shows how connected they were. I think that was a huge role. I think the mental coaches also played a huge role where that is concerned, because when your body's tired, the mental aspect now comes into play. And she's been really working well with the team. I think in 2022 she played a huge role. I think she's playing a huge role now as well. So it's all about being ready mentally. Physically, the body's tired, but you still have to keep going and you still have to keep pushing.
Still staying with football, new Durban City coach Gavin Hunt says that he plans on bringing the club back to match-winning potential as the side returns to Premiership football this season. The 61-year-old says that he's already got an idea of what the team has and needs in the 2 weeks that he's been at the helm.
Rather go in smaller steps, try and get smaller goals to set and then try and achieve those before you think of the end line or, people that make statements about winning this or winning that. Let's try and crawl a little bit before we walk,
In cricket, this afternoon, New Zealand beat South Africa by 7 wickets in the 5th T20 of the Tri-Series this afternoon. The Proteas were limited to 134 for 8, with Reza Hendricks top scoring 41 of 37 balls, while in response, Australia's Tim Seifert's unbeaten 66 led them to victory. Meanwhile, Proteas captain Themba Bavuma will return to his hometown of Langa on Friday. Teammates, Bavuma will lead the first leg of the official Mace Tour, celebrating unity, pride and the community that shaped his journey. Now, the full Mace Tour will roll out in September, with stops planned in Kimberley, Bloemfontein, Durban, Gqeberha, East London and Cape Town. So there you go. You've got your answer. You've been asking, are the Proteas going to go around and celebrate their win? So yes. The answer is yes. Full on out
and when
from
will
September.
That be?
So they're starting on Friday in Langa, and then the other places it's in September.
I know they're busy with other work, but it is rather long, isn't it? Just thinking about it.
Well, moving on to athletics, SA 400-meter runner Laith Lakay says that he continues to draw valuable lessons from moving between the senior and junior competitions. The Olympian is currently at the FISU World University Games in Germany, where he ran a time of 46.25 in his heat to qualify for the semi-finals tonight. And he says that he wants to now deliver on his promise to take up more responsibility.
I definitely am looking at it as a sort of redemption. That's actually a better way to put it, yeah. But I'm trying to do that without the pressure. I think being a junior and competing against the seniors came without pressure. Now my role in the sport has shifted. So now wherever I run there is pressure. And pressure is a blessing. I'm not going to be ungrateful. But now it's just getting used to handling pressure, navigating the pressure that comes with navigating a season at a senior level, trying to make times, progress, attain my ultimate goal in the sport. So, and I do think it's a nice event as well. I don't think it's, I do not underestimate the championship for any reason whatsoever. So it's nice, it's keeping on my toes, and as I said, I'm starting to feel my body again.
In tennis, Olympic champion Jane Qinwen has withdrawn from the US Open as she recovers from right elbow surgery. The world number 6 revealed last week on Instagram that she has been struggling with persistent pain on her right elbow, which affected her performance during both training and matches. And after exploring various treatments with little success, Jane decided to undergo surgery following consultations with elbow specialists and her support team. Then finally, in motorsport, the Argentina Grand Prix, which will not be part of the MotoGP calendar next year, will return in 2027 at a different venue near the capital, Buenos Aires. Now, MotoGP said on its website that the circuit will be renovated to host the event, which has been at the helm over 1,100 kilometers from the capital since 2014. The 2025 edition of the race was held in March, with Marc Marquez winning that Grand Prix. Now, before I go, Ashraf, someone actually asked a question, a very interesting question, on why is it that Banyana don't have a star for winning the Women's Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yesterday.
Obviously, we see how they do things when it comes to men, but it seems like when it comes to women, it's not as consistently applied as to the men's side of things, and perhaps because the different traditions in terms of how they do things. And I think it's something to be discussed, that why don't we just have a uniform thing of when you win continental competition, then you have a star on your jersey.
Because, I mean, who allocates the star? Who gives them the right? Would this be CAF, for example?
Yes, CAF. So I know that, for example, if you get a star having won a continental competition, you can't wear that very same jersey with a star when it's a FIFA tournament, because it's completely different competitions. So, yeah.
Okay, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
But you can still wear it when you're playing continentally.
Of course.
But at the moment you can't, because you don't have a star.
Yeah, I think Banyana deserve a star. Hopefully they
win. Strange indeed. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope they do well tonight. I think it's a critical game as well for South Africa. We've had a good run in the last couple of weeks with our sporting teams, and the point that I made the other day, really, we can't overstate this fact. I wish the different departments that battle with the lack of service delivery pay closer attention to not all, but how some of our sports teams nationally are getting it right. And it's not about sport, it's about copying and pasting the leadership procedures you put in place and say, come on, we can apply this to, I don't know, running our water department or electricity or whatever it is, or pothole, Ministry of Potholes. Yeah, something along that line.
I'll have more in the next hour.
The Morning Brief.
What's the conversation being had within the department and within the broader Gauteng provincial government around the agitation we've been seeing around issues of pressure brought onto the healthcare system by uncontrolled migration?
We have to provide health care, not just only for those people, but to also protect the community. Because where we come from, for instance, if currently you have issues like monkeypox and measles, if we do not treat people to then prevent them going to spread such diseases within our community, then we would be really neglecting our duty.
That's Dr. Mkhulu Silepe, who is Gauteng Department of Health Acting COO.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief.
This business feature is sponsored by CFI, an authorized financial services provider, a global leader in online trading now available in South Africa. Visit cfi.trade today.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Let's get to those facts and figures with Makwe Masilela, who's the Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, you're busy. You've got your eye on local and global markets, but significantly back home, you have the yearly trading statement from Sasol.
Yes, afternoon to you, Ashraf. Their liquid fuel sales increased in Q4, supported by higher production and purchases. Increased customer demand helped to improve gas sales. Chemicals Africa average price basket price was higher, but the international chemicals business revenue, as much as it increased because it was supported by higher sales volumes from improved U.S. production, it was partially offset by lower average sales prices. The guys received 4.3 billion as full and final settlement of their legal dispute with Transnet net, and profits as earnings per share are expected to increase by more than 20%. That is from the loss per share of 69 rands. And then after record highs in the previous sessions, markets dipped at the start of today's session, and that's ahead of the US mega cap tech company earnings. That is, we are looking for clues on how they are withstanding tariffs and mounting uncertainty over trade negotiations ahead of that August 1 deadline, coupled with growing concerns about corporate resilience in the face of ongoing tariffs, is putting fresh pressure on markets and casting doubts on the sustainability of the record-breaking rally that we've just seen. And stocks have surged from their April low as we leaned harder into what we call the rally when it comes to risky assets, betting that Trump will pull back on his tariff threats. And a quick report cut on Trump's trades. We've seen oil is cheaper, bond yields are lower, stocks and Bitcoin are pretty close to record highs. And as of apparently China's tariff deadline will be extended to the 12th of August. Hopefully that will also apply to other countries. In the European Union, the guys appear to be considering using what they call anti-coercion measures. If a trade deal is not reached with the US, basically they will restrict US suppliers access to the European markets, exclude the US businesses from public tenders, limit their foreign direct investment in the region, and also putting export and import restrictions. And options are showing that US dollar weaknesses will probably continue, and that will be positive for the rand. Oil prices dip as UE and US trade down jitters grow. We see Brent crude is down 1% at $68 a barrel. And after profit taking, the yellow metal regained its shine, and that's at the back of looming deadline, the August the 1st. And we see that gold is up 0.5% at 3,415. Platinum is down 1.8% at 1,447. Mashraf buying fatigue is kicking in as markets are taking a breather, with the JSE down 0.5%. The rand is flat against the US dollar 17.60, 23.68 against the pound, and 20.55 against the euro.
Right, got that. Thanks for that, Makwe Masilela. We'll do it again tomorrow, but also a reminder that you can catch the SAFM market update 6 to 7 this evening, 1 hour of all of that, right?
Thank you for tuning in to today's business feature, proudly sponsored by CFI, a leading trading app now available in South Africa. Download it now. Visit cfi.trade today.
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. Victory demands everything, but the journey is never solo. My team carves the way, data and innovation are my compass. This is how today's champions are made.
Trade like a champion with CFI. Access over 15,000 instruments, advanced trading tools, 24/7 support, and superior trading services. Visit CFI.trade today. CFI Financial Markets LLC is a Category 1 licensed broker by the UAE Securities and Commodities Authority. Trading involves high risk.
CFI, empower yourself.
Right, this message is proudly brought to you by Ituba. So, Mzansi, for as little as 5 rands, you can play Powerball for an estimated 84 million rand jackpot. Well, tonight. That's right, play Powerball for an estimated 84 million rand jackpot today, and you could be celebrating multi-millions, right? Buy your ticket now in store or via the nationallottery.coza, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda push-up play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
We're going to chat to Brian Molefe from the MK Party coming up after 5. Do not miss that. But it also means we're going to talk to you, whether you call in live, whether you send us a voice note via WhatsApp, 30 seconds max, or text message, or you're going to tweet using that hashtag, the National Pulse, so we can pick it up and tagging SAFM Radio, all those options. It's been one of those few days, isn't it? And it continues. The Eastern Cape High Court in Gqeberha has dismissed an application by the National Prosecuting Authority for clarification on the acquittal of the Nigerian televangelist Timothy Omotoso. So you got that? An application for clarification has been dismissed, right? Let's understand what happened with Nandipa Plaiki, the SABC News reporter in the Gqeberha region. Nandipa, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you and the listeners.
Okay, so let's stay with that issue of the acquittal, because that's the basis of it, the clarification story. What happened and was that explained?
Yes, so the National Prosecuting Authority has requested for factual findings from the Gqeberha High Court from Judge Skuman after she found Amotoso and his two co-accused not guilty on charges including racketeering and rape. So the NPA requested for factual findings, and on Monday the state argued with the defense. They were requesting these factual findings, including documentation that led to the acquittal, and then the defense lawyer, Peter Doberman, said this was a waste of time and it was unclear. So that's what happened on Monday last week.
And now, in terms of the decision taken by the Eastern Cape High Court?
Yeah, so today this was dismissed, and the court says that the reason is that they had to appeal first before requesting for clarity. And Judge Skuman did also say that they will not change the judgment. But the NPA said that they were not requesting for a change of the judgment, just for factual findings.
Okay, so which is what I understand as well. So the fact that effectively was refused, what then is the next step from the NPA perspective?
So now the National Prosecuting Authority will be submitting questions of law by the end of this week to Skuman, in which the next process, if that also fails, they will be taking this matter to the Supreme Court within 21 days.
Okay. Is there anything else that came out of court today that, maybe in terms of your observations or utterances from others that you feel we need to know?
Yes, the National Prosecuting Authority did share with us that the decision of the court today to dismiss this, it did not come as a shock, because during the arguments on Monday, they did see that Judge Skuman respectfully was not agreeing to what they were putting.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Appreciate your time there. That's a moving story in many ways, isn't it? So Nandipha Plaatje with us, SABC News reporter covering it in Gqeberha. But it now means you're on the pulse, and I need to feel what you feel. So I need to hear you out after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
This Mandela Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit of Ubuntu, calling on all South Africans to engage, uplift, and do good for one another. Let's share what we have, lend a helping hand, and honor Madiba's legacy through kindness and action. Join SAFM as we bring you powerful conversations, inspiring stories, and voices that drive change all month long. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. You're listening to the National Pulse.
I tell you what, we get such great feedback from the audience saying, hey, they really enjoyed the show, and that's really appreciated. But it is a team, so it's myself, it's Keys, it's Temba, and it's Fusani that makes up the four-person team that drives the National Pulse. And if you enjoy it, I hope you do tell somebody else. I mean, make an effort. Can you do that today? Tell another person to listen to the show. either live or download the SABC. In fact, our podcast, right? Just go safm.co.za as one option. Otherwise, check it out on Twitter. But the SABC website, SAFM website, will get you all the podcasts. It'll be great if you do so, right? And if you're a first-time listener, when you call in, let me know. Terence saying, good day, Ashraf. I'm glad that the Proteas are touring Kimberley. This is a great financial boost for the city. Thank you. So you said, Terence, eye on the money, not on the trophy. Got that. For Yizwa in Parktown, what's your eye on?
Yes, my eyes on what that Ashraf, I agree with the Burkina Faso. You know, elections and exploitation are still under imperialism. So for me, I don't agree with it even in South Africa. I think we must scratch it out. Apparently, politics must die, and so that we get a cultural revolution. That's what is going to take us back to Ubuntu philosophy. We're not going to have Ubuntu philosophy in this whole chaos. Look at what is happening in South Africa. These politicians, most of them, even DA, they don't like us. Remember, Tony Leon used to actually...
But wait, but you're jumping into different things. I mean, you're talking about Burkina Faso and they're talking about the Electoral Commission. So what is that going to do with Tony Leon?
Yes, the big thing is that I'm saying Africans have been held up for too long, especially in Africa, with this whole story of electoral what?
But I mean, you know, the Electoral Commission is an independent body that is appointed.
Yeah, but it's not for us.
Then what is for us? Then what is for us?
For us is that a leader is identified by people in his constituency.
So how do we choose a leader then? What's the process? How do we count?
We will follow our history. There's a history.
No, but do they? Okay, let's say there's more than one leader in the community. How do they choose one person then? What's the process?
It used to be something that was done, and there was no war. No, right now this is chaos. You think this is a normal life, Ashraf? This is not normal life.
Are you suggesting there's never been any wars tribally anywhere on the continent?
No. I don't talk about it. That can be fixed. Why are these problems not ending? Why are these problems not ending? Every day you get up at work, you come there. You're talking about the same thing every day, different ways.
So who's to blame? I mean, in conclusion, who's to blame for all of this?
Those people that think that they have a right than other people. They are the ones who put themselves on leadership position, come and talk, these experts and everybody else who thinks they have a right. It's wrong to think for others.
Okay. Well, Yizwa has made her point. You can make your point here on the National Pulse. Michael in Durban, let's get your thoughts. Hi, Michael.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ashraf.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I just want to I listened to your interview to Atlanta Mate.
Yeah.
I think there was one thing that was not clear for me that I didn't hear it coming out. She keep on telling us it took long and why it took long, but why it happened after Mkhwana's revelation. Because now he's saying the police killing task team, and she must be clear that task team was not officially disbanded. That's the first point. Two, that task team is still active or not to see, because now it starts everyone wake up in a statement with let's be tell something as the minister saying something as I'm trying to say something as so they need to tell us South Africa task team is still full force, is still working. It was unlawfully disbanded by Shetak's Bia.
Okay.
Secondly,
so yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yes, secondly, they must admit that Shetak's Bia was holding everything. Look at those case dockets. They were all within his office. Now that it's being suspended, now the dockets are out. Because Mkhwana did tell us that some of those cases were having a warrant of arrest. Now the warrant of arrest is happening.
Okay, so I get it. You're saying it's not a coincidence. You're saying there's a clear reason why. Michael in Durban, thank you for making your point, right? Okay, I need to hear more of your thoughts, and let's just do that. Mkhwanazi, that story is never going to go away, is it?
Good afternoon, SAFM. Yeah, the general in KZN, Mkhwanazi, was talking the truth. Look now, Kenny Kunene was found in the house of one of the guys responsible for DJ Somebody's murder. I mean, that's a clear. Who does he think? Does he think the public is naive? I mean, yeah, he's got a lot of explaining to do. So, yeah, I just believe this is a mess. We should start from scratch as a country with all politicians, lifestyle audits, the works. Otherwise, this will just continue. Eddie from Polokwane.
Okay, start from scratch, says Eddie. Thank you for that.
Good day, Ashraf. No, Buti Manamela. I think he's fine. He's fine. I support him. He's been in those ranks before, so I think he's gonna change things. I support him. Utsile Petlu in Taung.
Thanks for that, Lucila. I tell you what, bring him on in terms of what's your thoughts about Buti Manamela as the new Minister of Education. It's a big portfolio in the same way that Feroz Kachalia is heading up a big portfolio like police. So we have two changes already. That's quite significant. What do you make of Buti Manamela? And tell me why you think what you think. And maybe the next question is, does the party that the person belongs to does it have a huge influence in terms of how he or she governs that ministry? I'd love to know.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and the listeners of SFM. Ashraf, if we think as South Africans that will remove the ANC out of power, let's forget it. If they can roll the entire government with 40%, what more damage can they do? These guys are like the ZANU-PF, the bolt and nut. So we need a different tool to remove them in power. Brandma by Protectland. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Much appreciate that you enjoyed the show. Here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. About the former minister, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, the writing was on the wall that her days as the minister were numbered. She has no one to blame but herself because she has dug her own grave. This is a lesson to other ministers that arrogance does not pay. Thank you very much. Peter Maila Machaba from Lesotho.
Nobody says Peter like you say it. I'm just telling you so you know, right? Nobody ever does it. Just nobody. Thank you for that, Peter. Here's another.
Good afternoon, SAFM. What's on my mind today is that the markets are not behaving good. Yeah, they are not behaving good. We are having a bad time here as investors. All our investments are on the red. Many of them. When you check the dashboard, you'll see that they are going down. Yeah, Ashraf, this is Nkulego. I'm calling you from Ejozini in KZN. Thank you.
Well, in fact, we touched on that story earlier on, and there's been responses about the markets playing down. So, here's one, Ashraf. Quick response to Nkulelenko. He must not worry about the markets in red. What he must do is a lot of research, diversify his portfolio as an investor. You must be smart when you know it's for a long term. He doesn't need to panic on the painting, either green or red. Only traders panic. They just buy and sell every day. Brian Mabaya from Project Land. Well, look, Brian, I hear what you're saying, and maybe the broader question to everyone. If you're going to invest anything, you need to speak to someone who's an expert in that. You don't speak to the football coach to decide how you must invest, right? So speak to someone who's the coach in terms of investing. So get that type of advice that's expert advice, which then means when markets shift, you can go back to that person to give you advice. Really, if you want to fix up a pool, is I need to throw some chlorine in my pool, just by the way, I'm not going to speak to the investment manager. I'll speak to the expert in pool cleaning, isn't it? Same token. Think about it. Greg House is the expert in reading the news. It's his turn now. It's 5 o'clock.
Well, thank you kindly, Ashraf. In this news update, probe into murder of Eastern Cape Chief Whip and death toll rises after Bangladesh plane crash. Good day to you. Police are investigating a case of murder after the Chief Whip of the Malahleni local municipality, Koleseka Lali, was shot dead at his home at Kumani in the Eastern Cape. His body was discovered by his brother-in-law after his concerned wife couldn't get hold of him. Police spokesperson Ubantu Gantana says he was found in his bedroom with multiple gunshot wounds.
The motive for the murder is currently unknown. Police are actively processing the crime scene and investigating the circumstances. Anyone with information that could assist this investigation is urged to contact the SAPS Crime Stop hotline on 08600 10111 or submit a tip anonymously via the MySAPS app. All information will be treated confidentially.
SAFA Cape Town President Bennett Bailey says a full investigation will be launched after young soccer players from Cape Town were left stranded in Spain. He says the BT Academy, which organised the trip, is not registered with SAFA. Authorities in the Western Cape have confirmed that the remaining players will arrive back home by Thursday. The group left the city earlier this month to take part in a football tournament in Spain. They were left stranded after the academy allegedly failed to pay for their return flights and accommodation. They're currently staying at a hotel in Portugal. Bailey says the Football Association will be probing the matter fully.
BT Academy used to belong to Two Oceans Local Football Association, which is a member, one of our LFAs in SAFA Cape Town, so which make them a member of SAFA Cape Town. They subsequently resigned to go to Cape Winelands. I've spoken to the president of SAFA Cape Winelands earlier to inquire and also to do some homework, because if you do not belong this side, you might belong somewhere.
The Deputy President of the Patriotic Alliance, Kenny Kunene, has denied having a relationship with businessman Katiso Katie Molefe after he was found at the home of the Gauteng businessman during a police operation. 4 suspects, including Molefe, were arrested in connection with the murder of Opa Sefoka, known as DJ Somebody. Sefoka was shot and killed in Woodmead, north of Johannesburg in 2022. Police spokesperson Natlenda Mate says 3 of the suspects are believed to be hitmen, while 1 is believed to have ordered the hit. Kunene says he was merely facilitating an interview with Molefe and a journalist from his newspaper.
No, we are not friends. If you look at my online newspaper, it hasn't been that active. And I decided to put together some young people to resuscitate it, obviously. So they wanted to do an exclusive story. And Mr. Molefe was a person where there was an opportunity to do a story with him. Remember that he has not spoken publicly since his arrest and whilst he was on bail. So I facilitated with somebody that I know that knows Mr. Molefe, and Mr. Molefe agreed to do the interview and the meeting was facilitated.
The latest Debtbusters money stress trackers again revealed that women continue to bear the brunt of financial anxiety. Almost 3 out of 4 female respondents reported suffering from financial stress. The annual survey polled more than 27,000 respondents. Vinay Sagers from Debtbusters.
And I think that has a lot to do with the role that women, the pivotal role that women play in our society, but also the fact that they take on the burden for an entire household often as primary caregivers, professionals earning the money, looking after everyone in the household as mothers, as sisters, as daughters. It's a lot to take on, worrying about a lot of people.
The army in Bangladesh says the number of people killed when an Air Force training jet crashed into a school yesterday has now risen to 31. Most of the dead are children. 165 others were injured in the incident in the capital Dhaka. There have been protests at the site. Officials say the aircraft apparently suffered mechanical failure. The top story, police are investigating a case of murder after the chief whip of the Malahleni local municipality was shot dead at his home at Kumani in the Eastern Cape. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Close.
And in your sports this hour, we continue to build up to the Women's Africa Cup of Nations semi-final between Banyana and Nigeria. More on that at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, queuing towards Crown Interchange, and Mabopane Highway northbound in Pretoria is slow moving towards Theo Martins. In KZN, the N3 westbound in Pietermaritzburg has a stationary truck before Market Road reported, and the M4 southbound slow moving towards the M7 highway. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive and Campground Road in Newlands slow moving between Main Road and Palmyra Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Join us for this year's fundraiser, Jazz for Young People concert at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July. This unique event, perfect for families, is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity and community spirit. So bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring the Parktown Girls Band, Tshwane School of Music, The Real DJ Zandi, Kutlotaro Jazz Band and many others. Tickets are just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12 via Quicket. Jazz for Young People is proudly brought to you by Standard Bank Joy of Jazz.
This July, journey beyond the horizon with Chasing the Sun. 5 mesmerizing episodes every Sunday at 7:30 on SABC2 from 13 July to 10 August. Feel the thrill of the adventure, the power of discovery, and stories that light up the skies. Missed an episode? No worries. Stream anytime, anywhere on SABC Plus. No subscription required. Chasing the Sun. Your Sunday nights just got brighter. Tune in to SABC2, Sundays at 7:30 or watch on SABC Plus on demand.
For the love of the game.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Right, this message is proudly brought to you by Ituba. So, Mzansi, for as little as 5 rands, you can play Powerball for an estimated 84 million rand jackpot. Well, this Tuesday, tonight. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 84 million rand jackpot today, and you could be celebrating multi-millions. Buy your ticket now in store on the nationallottery.coza, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
In fact, stories just develop all the time. So here's a comment from a tweet, in fact, from Sakile Mgadi. Now, just to confirm, he's a KZN member of the provincial legislature for the DA, right? So this is what he tweeted. He said, "We've received reliable information that one of the companies recently awarded an NSNP tender in KZN was allegedly registered by the MEC Sipho Klomuka himself in 2017. I'll be engaging the Finance MEC Rogers today on this deeply disturbing revelation and the road ahead. Hashtag KZN Education, hashtag NSNPS, or rather NSNP scandal." Okay, let's move on to other things. The MK party have been pretty busy today. Remember, we chatted about it last week and they were calling for the president to resign or else, right? Well, he clearly did not resign. The deadline was Mandela Day, remember that? So the MK party briefed the media today on issues including putting a motion of no confidence on the president, Ramaphosa. So the MK party, we picked out some key highlights from that media briefing. The MK party's Colleen Makubela touched on some of the key issues. This is what was said.
And our party leader in Parliament. Members of the media, our fellow citizens, good morning and thank you once again for joining us. As we have told you when I was first appointed, that this is going to be our regular encounters to update you on the work that we are doing in the Parliament, to have you ask us questions, understand our positions, and this is but one of those interactions, and we thank you for making yourselves available for this important press briefing. We address this media briefing today under what evidently are changing political conditions. The revelations by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi contributed immensely to creating this new political dynamic in our country, and of course propelled by the decisive action of the MK Party and the self-driven activity by the masses of our people demanding immediate change and accountability. We salute the bravery and determination of our masses, which forced the President to act and dismiss Dr. Nobuhle Nkanyane as the Minister of Higher Education, and also suspending the head of National Prosecution Authority in Gauteng. We have seen spontaneous marches in Durban, Eastern Cape, including the MK Party march to the Union Building and other parts of the country. In most of these public demonstrations, the message is very clear. Citizens have had enough of the betrayal of this president and the enormous failures of the government of national unity. Our citizens have lost confidence in the president and the ability of the government to change the lives of the people for the better. We also saw yesterday residents in Tembisa marching against the high electricity tariffs and how this is affecting their livelihoods. We stand with the people of Tembisa as they fight high electricity tariffs, and we demand for the scrapping of this huge increase nationally. This week, especially tomorrow, will be very interesting for our citizens as Parliament prepares to consider the national budget and the various budget votes. We call on the Progressive Alliance to work together and vote against the austerity budget as presented by Minister Godongwana. Ladies and gentlemen, Wednesday will prove once and for all if the Democratic Alliance will put its money where its mouth is. Wednesday is the D-Day for the DA to prove what it really meant when it said publicly that the DA will not support corrupt ANC ministers and will vote against the budget votes of departments led by corrupt ANC ministers. Wednesday will be that practical test for the DA. If the DA fails to put this into practice on Wednesday, it might as well, as far as we're concerned, shut up and not mislead its constituency to believe it stands against corruption when it is in fact an enabler. In its current form, this budget is self-serving budget. And our team lead, Honorable Des van Rooyen, is going to take us through the budget and what it means for our people and what it means for the nation. Our portfolio lead of appropriations will also take us through the statement that they've prepared to let you know the position of MK Party.
Right, so there's more. Then the MK Party then emphasized, well, I'm talking about Colleen Makubela, then spoke about that all-important motion of no confidence to be brought by the MK Party against the president.
It's a budget that belongs to a select GNU few. Lava Jaku Dombolo Rakapondo. The administration has become complacent, fat and untouchable and sexist. Look at how they have dealt with the issue of Senzo Mchunu and how quickly they have responded to the black educated woman minister of higher education. She was just an easy soft target, a sacrificial lamb at the GNU altar. All things equal and fair, Minister Senzo Mchunu should have been fired in the same breath. This is a clear cowardice at the decisive moment by the president. In addition, the MK Party, as we are mobilizing the grassroots, we filed papers with the Constitutional Court, as you know. We have now today put a motion of no confidence on the president for his failures, and chief among them, failure to fire Mchunu and to protect the most vulnerable in our society. We want our people to know that these GNU cosmetic changes of ministers, it does not mean reforms. This change does not mean improvement at all. It's a recycling of the same old. It's only a matter of time before another scandal hits because of this systematic rot. The systematic rot will keep churning out the same results of corruption. In conclusion, what matters most today and what matters most to the MK party, and it will come out when the finance team presents now, is addressing the issue of deepening inequality and poverty of our people. The budget should be focused on the redistribution of wealth. The GNU administration has to address this important question, no matter how devastating the consequences on their GNU partners and their backers.
Right, there's more. What about the MK party's position regarding what happened late, 6 o'clock yesterday, the dismissal of Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane as the Minister of Higher Education? Here's Dr. John Klophe.
Yes, may I also add something? Firing of the Minister of Higher Education is a very strategic thing to do on the part of Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. He is doing that to get the support of the DA so that the DA would vote in favor of the budget. I hope South Africans are not fools. We in the MK party can see through this. He is doing it not out of genuine concern for the South Africans, but purely to get the vote tomorrow from the DA. Now, the DA has voted against the budget in certain portfolios. We're hoping that sanity will prevail and they will be consistent, because it wouldn't make sense for the DA to vote against certain appropriations in other committees, but all of a sudden tomorrow, because they have been given a piece of meat to chew, which is the firing of the Minister of Higher Education. So this is done deliberately by Mr. Ramaphosa, and we hope South Africans will be able to see through what he has done.
I'll tell you what, party politics and national politics, so complex as every party, effectively looks at it. Well, maybe understandably so from their perspective and not from what may be right nationally. Or have I got it wrong? Well, that's the point. You can tell me. We'll take all your calls from around 5:45 onwards as we wrap up the show. We'll take your calls. We'll take your WhatsApp comments, as we always do, right? And we'll certainly take some of your tweets as well, if you just tweet using that hashtag, the National Pulse, right? More to come, including the development of what is called New Plus TV, based in Kenya. What's that about? Why is that significant? We'll find out.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
My name is Regina Mogolola, a midfielder. Banyana Banyana, we are the African champions. My favorite hairstyle is short haircut. Between a farmhouse and a beach house, I will choose a farmhouse. If I receive a 5 million rent secretly, I will share with the team. Fellow South African, continue showing Banyana Banyana love and support them all the way. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Hear the rhythm, feel the heat at the Imbaula Music Festival in partnership with SAFM, where music, culture, and community come alive. Join us on the 2nd of August 2025 at Pretoria Botanical Gardens from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to vibe to Sanal Musician, Calvin Momo, Amanda Black, Zing Lumalo, Trompis, and many more. More than just music. Share stories, spark change, and unite against gender-based violence. Grab your tickets at imbaula.co.za. Brought to you by SAFM and SABC1. Hear the rhythm, feel the heat. Imbaula. You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
I tell you what, there's one thing that you need to hear daily is, what is the voice of the people? How important is the voice of the people? How important are they? How important are the people and their voices? And how do they get heard? It means how are they amplified? So therefore, whenever there's new areas of amplification, it certainly piques my interest. And that would be the case certainly on the African continent with regards to some developments around what is called Afrocentric streaming in Kenya in particular. Now, with me is Mutoni Waigwa, who's the CEO of New Plus TV, which, it is in Kenya. Mutoni, I appreciate you connecting to the National Pulse.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Thank you. Well, I'm certainly very keen to find out what's the plan regarding your planned amplification of African storytellers. Tell me more.
So NW Plus TV was launched this year or earlier in the year, and we just curate African stories that could be films, documentaries, kids shows, or podcasts. And why we saw the need of doing this is, yes, we may have existing streaming platforms that are showcasing African stories, but not necessarily they being the heart of that streaming platform or being the heartbeat of that streaming platform. So NW Plus TV wants to give African creators, producers, filmmakers the opportunity to showcase their stories to the world, but be the heartbeat of the platform. So when someone logs into the platform, they'll just see African content from different parts of Africa, not just from Kenya, but from Southern Africa, Western Africa, and even Central Africa.
Okay, so so explain the platform. Because obviously nowadays very few things are just linear. You probably listen and hear it from wherever you may be in the world. Tell me more about the platform and where one can connect with it.
So the platform can be accessed on www.nwplus.tv. So it's a website, but it's mobile enabled. So someone wants to access the platform from their mobile device, they can access the website. So we have 72-hour free trials. So if someone is still trying to figure out what are we offering, they can enjoy it for 72 hours. And then thereafter, we have 3 tiers of subscription because we recognize that they have different purchasing powers between different Africans across the continent. So 24 hours, weekly or monthly. And what we're seeing is people are enjoying the 24-hour access because it enables them to just get a feel. They don't really need to commit heavily. They can come in for a day and just see what's there, consume it. But essentially, it's a website that's mobile enabled.
Okay, so just staying with the money, of course, from your side, you don't really want them to just use it as a shop window. You want them to watch or listen for 24 hours and stick around forever. That's the ideal. What then is, 2 things there. What then would be the cost factor if they stay on? And then the next part, what has been the uptake so far?
So the monthly cost is about $8. Let me just use that foreign currency for everyone to understand our cost. So $8 for a monthly fee. And yes, we want everyone to be using that subscription package to access our content. But then for the weekly, it's about $5. So they can engage with our content for $5. So the uptake has been good. And we are seeing different people being able to access our platform from across Africa. Obviously, because we are from Kenya, majority of our customers are Kenyan, but we are now seeing people from Southern Africa accessing the content because we are now doing activations on ground here in South Africa. But also the fact that we have a payment gateway that uses mobile money or international cards, that just makes our payments much more seamless and easier for the customer, because it will be quite limiting if we just use, let's say, for example, mobile money, and then assuming that other people have access to that. So we gave them the opportunity to use international cards as well.
Okay, and you touched on South Africa, so you are in this country right now. So you did say activations. Yes. What have you been doing?
So Media Tour having conversations with different media stations, and then this coming Saturday we are having a event with filmmakers. We partnered with an organization called Creative Nestlings so that we can have a conversation around content distribution. How can filmmakers monetize from their content? What are we doing as a new player in this industry or in this streaming space? So that's what's going to happen on Saturday at The Forge. And for those who are willing to come, please do come. It will be from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. And it's just a conversation where the audience can engage with filmmakers and engage with myself, but also let's have a conversation as to where we want African storytelling to go. Where do we see it in the next 5 years? What practical steps can we do to ensure that our African stories are truly being watched, listened to, heard, and not being misunderstood? For too long, African stories are diluted and misunderstood. And then we ourselves as African creators start diluting our stories so that people can, consume them better, when in fact it's time to just embrace our Africanness. There's nothing wrong being African. There's nothing wrong being, there's nothing wrong telling an African story. But I guess for far too long we've been told to, silence our voices and dilute our stories so that the world can find it appealing.
So, one thing is having a meetup with many people and getting us to share with you where do you think the African story should go. But I'm sure you yourself have your own thoughts already, otherwise you would not have been part of the setting up of the channel, right? So what then is your vision? Because one thing is saying, that's my vision, but you would then mix it with the practicalities of being able to, lend a message to an audience that says, I want more, because we all have choices, right?
It's true, right? We all have choices, and why should they log into our platform? But one thing for me, the vision is, imagine the times when, I don't know about you, but I remember the time when we only had one TV station, right? And then it was time for the station to go on live and we were all excited. The one thing that I remember that still is centered in my heart is the fact that everyone, all ages, could be in that sitting room, spending time together, watching whatever was on TV. So essentially for us, NW Plus TV is the heart of the home where everyone can watch the content together, be entertained, and also educated. Because for far too long, we find that the content that's being produced out there really segregates the home. And I guess that's someone else's business plan where we want to cater to a certain group of people. But for us, we want to ensure that the home is a space where everyone is entertained and no one should be told to come out of the living room because now there's a content or there's a film or there's a show that's on air that you can't watch. Mm-hmm. But also our vision is to ensure that, for far too long, we've had conversations with producers where they've produced their content, right? They go for the film festival run. They go to Cannes, they go to Toronto, they go to all these other ones, hoping to be picked up. And then they come back home, they haven't been picked up. So what happens to that film? Does it stay in the hard drive? Does it stay on the shelf? Why should it stay in your hard drive when, in fact, your story should be told to the world? So for us, NW Plus TV is that home for the producers who are seeking for their content to be showcased to a greater audience, but also for them to monetize. Because again, with YouTube, the algorithm doesn't favor Africa. So we want to be able to support producers that when you come onto our platform, you will earn a revenue.
Well, I was about to bring in YouTube, but maybe I won't because you've mentioned it already. But let's end with this, right? Of all the different, genres that are being covered in Africa or not being covered, what's the one thing that you think is missing from the narrative, whether it's done by Africans or even globally about Africa? What's the one thing that's missing?
I think the one thing that's missing is we have all these stories that are being adapted by Western media, right? We all know them. Wakanda, Woman King. These are stories that already exist. These people actually existed on the continent. So for me, what's missing is that final touch of Africanness. So the producers being African, the cast being African, the storyline being told from an African perspective, that's what's missing. So if it's Woman King or if it's another story about a queen on this continent, how about telling it from actual Africans who actually know what went down?
Okay.
Because for far too long, we have Western media changing up the storyline to appeal to Western audiences, when in fact, the story already exists. Just amplify it and tell it as it is.
Well, I'll tell you what, when the weekend comes, I may just give you a 24-hour window and see whether I stick around longer than that. So much appreciate your time. I think you're right about the buy of and for Africans. Maybe to extend that, but it doesn't stop you ensuring that even people in the Western world actually tune in, because you do need that audience to be able to spread your message. Butoni Waigwa, CEO of NW Plus TV. Much appreciate your time here and welcome to South Africa, and best of luck as you broadcast and amplify from Kenya. Thank you for your time on the National Pulse. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Greg House.
Quick look at the headlines. The Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training in Parliament says it's concluded that the panel set up to appoint SETA board chairpersons was not independent. Police are investigating a case of murder after the chief whip of the Emalahleni local municipality was shot dead at his home at Kumani in the Eastern Cape. And the Japanese power company says it will conduct a geological survey in preparation for a new nuclear reactor. A full update at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Centurion is a crash reported before John Foster Drive. The R24 eastbound in Kempton Park is slow moving towards the R21 airport interchange, and Summit Road westbound in Midrand has delays at Blue Hills. In KZN, the N2 northbound queuing through the construction area north of Spaghetti Junction. The M7 has truck congestion reported in that Rosberg area, so expect delays. And Mountbatten Drive northbound in Reservoir Hills is where a fatal pedestrian crash is reported after New Germany Road. In Cape Town, the R300 southbound slow moving towards the N2 highway, Robert Sobukwe Road southbound in Moderdam queuing towards Stellenbosch Arterial Road, and Govan Bakey Road is slow moving between Crossroads and Khayelitsha. With your traffic update, I'm Irma Jean.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, of course we can only start with one thing. The thing the entire nation should be locked into. Banyana, African Cup of Nations, Women African Cup of Nations semi-final. Yeah,
absolutely. I think there's just under 30 minutes until kick-off for that massive semi-final clash between Banyana and Nigeria. Kick-off at 6 p.m. And as I did say, there is actually a fan park that has been organized by the Department of Sports in Randfontein, and the country basically being encouraged to rally behind the Queens. And one brand that has been walking the journey with them is Shield. They have been supporting them, being out there in terms of just giving the backing for the ladies. And I am joined on the line by the head of sponsorship at Shield, Gareth Marshall, just to talk about the team's run at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations and the importance of backing women in sports. Gareth, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Welcome to the show. I do know that you actually was recently in Morocco. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, so evening, everyone. Great to speak this evening. What an unforgettable opportunity to be there and witness the match against Mali. I think being in those stands, there was a small group of us South Africans. We had the flags shouting as we always do. Yeah. I think a real goosebump moment. But I think the real energy was in how everyone kind of came together. So there was lots of locals in the stands, people from other countries, and I think really came together to support South Africa with us there. So, able to make a lot of noise, but just to witness the win and just see the team come to life was truly an unforgettable experience.
I can only imagine just the electrifying atmosphere as a whole in the stadiums and South Africans celebrating. But today's a big one, South Africa facing Nigeria, a very tough team. But from your perspective, what do you think Banyana needs to focus on to just win that match?
Tonight's going to be a tough match. You know, we really know how much of a powerhouse Nigeria can be. But also, let's not forget, so is Banyana, right? They've proved it time and time again. And I think what really sets them apart is their fighting spirit. and being able to really handle the pressure when it counts and come through. So I think it's about staying confident, and I think just carrying South Africa in their hearts, right? We're behind them 100% as a brand, and I think as a country. So just chatting to people coming back, and everyone was like, "Oh, we saw the match. We saw you at the match," and I think it just shows you how many South Africans are really behind the team.
And I mean,
so they can do it.
I mean, you talk about confidence and them maintaining that confidence, and that's one thing that you guys are all about, just empowering women to be confident. I'm just very interested in why the brand is so invested in supporting women's football.
So we hadn't for a long time, and it was always something that was part of our plan. Not that we hadn't supported it, it was just kind of how brand plans went at the time. And then we made a really conscious decision about when we were going to play in women's sport, we wanted to be there authentically. And at Shields, we really believe in movement has the power to transform lives. And when you look at this team, what they've done and what they've had to overcome to really be on the pitch, I think it really sets them apart, and something we're really proud to be part of, and really want to stand the journey. We're 3 years into a 5-year partnership, which we hope will go a lot longer than this too. So it's only just the beginning, but it's really amazing to see the power that this team has over a country.
It's absolutely great to hear that you'd actually still want to continue supporting Banyana, and they've been doing well. Are there any plans for the future to continue empowering and supporting the next generation of female athletes in South Africa?
Yes, definitely. So I think this is just the start, and we do have plans to go bigger and better, but this team will be front and center. So I think we've got a commitment to the team as we move forward, and we don't look to changing that anytime soon.
Listen, all focus on Banyana today. So what is the message from Shield to Banyana and just the millions that are backing them?
Yeah, I think we see you, we back you. I think it's what we want to say. They really do bring the heat on the pitch, as we've witnessed before and earlier in this tournament, and they've already inspired a nation with their passion, their grit. And tonight's not going to be an easy game, but I think they need to know that South Africa is behind them 100%. Just the conversations that I've had just in the days that I've been back, people are inspired and they are there. So I think to the fans, let's rise up and make your voices heard. We showed what it was like just a small voice could have and the impact that could have. And time to be part of the Shield heat wave as we've got, and whether they're watching at home or any people in the stadium, we do know a few people who are going to be in the stadium supporting them. This is a moment to unite behind the team. We've done it for other sports, and now it's the time to get behind women's football and get behind this team.
Gareth, I can't let you go without putting you on the spot. I need that prediction. What's the score tonight?
I knew you were going to go there. Why do you do this to me? Look, I think it's going to be tough, but I'm going for the win, and let's go 2-1.
2-1 to South Africa. Let's wait and see. Gareth, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. That is Gareth Marshall, who's the head of sponsorship at Shield. As you heard him, Ashraf, they are 5 years supporting, they are into their 5-year contract supporting Banyana. And they're actually 3 years into their 5-year contract, and he says they want to continue supporting Banyana, and I'm really hoping that Banyana does well
it's a
today.
good market to support. It makes business sense, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dedicated market of a team of winners, being aligned to winners, that's just great for a brand to be associated with them. Makes sense to me.
Well,
and Rands, just by the way.
Absolutely. Well, it's time for me to make way for Ashraf again. I'll be back again tomorrow.
Somebody asked a question about the stars. Yeah?
Yes.
Did you want to comment on that? Yeah?
Yeah, I think I heard it. I don't know if we have it. I'm not sure if we
All right.
have it.
If not, just talk us through it.
Yeah, I think the person was saying, why did we say that Banyana are delayed to have a star? And I don't think he heard us correctly, because I was just saying that the tradition of stars to celebrate continental champions is not as consistent on the women's side as it is on the men's side. That's exactly what I was saying. I was not saying that it is delayed for Banyana, but obviously you also even asked who decides. It's on the confederations and the association side, and I was just saying they do deserve that star.
Okay, well, point clarified once again. Right, 20 minutes to the big game then, yeah.
Runners will brighten the streets of Phalaborwa during the F21 Half Marathon. It is a unique race that starts in the afternoon. Athletes confront the unkindness of the heat. This special running day honors 3 decades of endurance and unites Phalaborwa in motion. The 2025 edition promises an unforgettable experience. Catch the F21 Half Marathon on Saturday, 26 July at 1 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the Soundtrack of Your Life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Okay, let's get to all those facts and figures with Jimmy Moyaho, host the SAFM Market Update that comes up just now. But Jimmy, you want to just touch on the Steinhoff story?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. Yes, believe it or not, we actually have some developments on that part in the form of Ibex Investments, the new company that took over Steinhoff. Obviously, there was that name change that took place. There was a transfer of ownership and all those things after the Steinhoff collapse. Ibex held onto one of the big assets that was part of the Steinhoff family in the form of the Pepkor business and their shareholding in that Pepkor business. They're finally looking to unwind that shareholding. It's just shy of 30 billion rands worth of shareholding that sits there, and they're looking to put that into the market and see if they, I think it's about 1 billion shares or so, and the share price was at around 28 Rand a share or so. So they're looking to get rid of that. The last time Ibex tried to sell off some holdings in the Pepkor business, those funds or the proceeds of that were frozen by the South African Reserve Bank. And I wanted to look at that and look at what's going to happen this time around and potentially try and see if this deal would be any different or if this placement would result in a different outcome for the team at Ibex. And we can finally put the Steinhoff chapter behind us, I suppose. So that's going to be part of the conversation today. We're also going to take a look at the overhaul that seems to be happening on the municipal side of things. Municipalities have been operating on a white paper that was drafted back in 1998, almost 27 years ago, and that white paper is finally being revisited and re-looked at to perhaps come up with better controls and better systems for governance and how municipalities are regulated and operated. So we're going to take a look at that overhaul and try and make sense of that and see what the financial implications of that could be. Then we've got a conversation with the team at ABSA around taking a look at their new strategy for their business banking division. We know that the banks have given us quite a bit to think about over the last couple of weeks and months in the form of some of their objectives for customers, the conversations around interest rates, and some of the banks have been looking at restructuring the business. Absa, of course, has welcomed their new CEO, and as part of these conversations, we're going to take a look at what it is they want to share around their business banking offering at this stage. And then we're going to wrap up the show with a property feature. It seems there's some trends that are changing in the property space. The office properties that we used to know are now being revamped and repurposed into residential properties. So quite an interesting shift in the property landscape. We're going to speak to a senior economist specializing in the property space around that. And speaking of senior economists, we're going to speak to the chief economist at Efficient Group, Dawie Rood, around his thoughts on the corporate income tax in South Africa. Dawie believes that the corporate income tax rate in South Africa is far too high. It should be lowered back towards the international standards of the 15%. And not be kept at the 27%. We're going to get his thoughts around why and the rationale behind that. I'm sure that's going to be quite an interesting conversation to dig into as well. But before we get to those conversations, the markets have had a better day today. The rand has been stronger. We haven't yet hit 100,000 points on the all share, but we are moving in positive territory on most markets, likely due to the dollar weakness that we continue to see. If we look at equity markets internationally, Asian markets were by and large in the green, with the exception of the Nikkei in Tokyo that was down about 0.1%. The CAC 40 in France down 0.8%. The DAX down 1.2%. The FTSE eking out 5 basis points worth of gains overall. And if we look at South African markets, not such a good day, not as good as what we started the week at, but we are still dangerously close to those that 100,000 points mark. We're down about 1/3% in today's trade. The top 40 is down about 0.4%. The resources up about 0.15 to 0.17%. The industrials down about 1/3, and financials were the biggest loser today, down about 1%. The rand stronger, 17 rand 57 against the US dollar, 23 rand 75 against the British pound, and 20 rand 63 against the euro. One Australian dollar, 11 rand 51. One Bitcoin, $119,000 a Bitcoin, or in rand terms, 2.08 million, so 2,090,000. The stronger rand there is what's keeping Bitcoin below 2.1 million from that perspective, but still well above the 2 million rand mark that we've been keeping an eye on. Quick look at commodities before we go. Platinum and palladium pricing improving. Gold pricing on the up as well. Platinum 1,484, palladium 1,315, gold $3,424 a fine ounce, up about 2%. You'd think that would give resource counters a bit of an edge today, but doesn't seem to be the case. Might happen tomorrow as they start to trail from these numbers. I've got Skulk Low from PSG Wealth on markets with me today, so we're going to discuss that and see what we make of it. But of course, that comes up just after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Right, perfect. Jimmy, you've got 10 minutes, 12 minutes to get your show going, so enjoy that. It means it leaves me time to talk to you as in the audience. I want to know what you feel, because I know you're on the pulse.
Runners will brighten the streets of Phalaborwa during the F21 Half Marathon. It is a unique race that starts in the afternoon. Athletes confront the unkindness of the heat. This special running day honors 3 decades of endurance and unites Phalaborwa in motion. The 2025 edition promises an unforgettable experience. Catch the F21 Half Marathon on Saturday, 26 July at 1 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This Mandela Month, Nelson Mandela once said,
"We have traveled a long journey. We have fought for peace and reconciliation, for social justice, for all men, women, and children."
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, this comment from you, and naturally I expect feedback from the MK media briefing earlier today.
I should have the MK party, it's like, I don't know, man. That I listened to the lady and she said the Honorable Desmond Royan. Is she serious? Do they really want us to take the MK party serious in this vote of no confidence in the president? South Africa, we really don't have confidence in the president, and the MK party is very opportunistic, you know. But, you know, their president is Jacob Zuma, the worst president of South Africa. So we can't take the MK party serious, man. They just want to get to power so they can loot Vince Cape Town.
You see, the point is you don't take them seriously, but do others take them seriously? I think some of them do. The question is, how many?
Ashraf, Yalezo here in Gumbu. You know, it's funny how people will come on the radio, even on the social media. They come and praise all these African leaders, your Mugabes, all the Burkina Faso, etc. But what's funny is that none of these countries are better than South Africa. South Africa remains better in terms of economic opportunities, in terms of development, and just generally. Why people will always want to bash the government of South Africa? Yes, I'm not saying things are perfect, but we are better off than most countries in Africa. People are so ungrateful. Thanks, Ashraf.
I don't know if they're ungrateful. I think the question is not, are they better off than other countries? Are we better off than ourselves? Because we do have a right, I think, to expect, well, a better life for all. You've heard that phrase, haven't you? Right. Sitambele in Flagstaff, go for it.
Thanks, Ashraf. Ashraf, I'm always hearing people saying within the ANC we don't have people that can become the president if Ramaphosa happens to be, put aside. I think I would like to ask all South Africans to rally behind this gentleman, who is my proposal for the presidency candidate, Aaron Motsoaledi. I think we can have a better country if we can have that gentleman in the helm of this country. Thanks, Ashraf.
Okay, got that. So you're saying the Minister of Health, who's been the Minister of Home Affairs and Minister of Health before, he's done many other things, he should be the president, well, to replace Ramaphosa sometime soon. I just wonder. Okay, here's another point on Ramaphosa.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I'm asking myself, why has it taken President Ramaphosa 2 years to act on such crucial information implicating Advocate Chauke? It certainly, for me, also adds this additional layer of understanding why General Mkhwanazi took the strategy that he took in presenting all this information to the media. And honestly, what level of political interference do we need to see than a president who has delayed taking action on such an important and critical matter, and really has openly shown that he has not acted in the best interest of the citizens that are trusting him to lead? I'm so disappointed. This is Anonymous from Durban.
Well, thanks for Anonymous, and really appreciate your call. Your question really, has he acted in the best interests of the people of South Africa? It is a fundamental question on this issue and many other issues, including the issue of the Minister of Police and his replacement, and other issues too.
Hi, Ashraf. It's Brad here from Durban. MK party should shut up and go and sit in the pool, fire pool. They have destroyed this country with their leader, Jacob Zuma. So if there's corruption, that's the guy that started the whole thing.
Oh, there we are. And I've heard that before, to say who is the MK party to tell others how to run the country, when effectively many of the leadership had the chance to do just that. I wonder how you internalize that. By the way, still thoughts for a couple more calls if you're up for it, wherever you may be in the country. First time caller, that's fine too. Love to hear from you, young and old. So what about Molefe?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Can you please ask Mr. Molefe what is his views about the people that are saying that the MK party is gonna fall apart before the next election, just like COPE, and the new parties are going to emerge. Just the party of Shivambo. And even the party of Shivambo is going to fall apart after election. What is he saying about it? Talking to Pianove from Tata Things.
Well, he's certainly not going to say he agrees with them, right? I cannot believe he would say that. I would expect him to say they're talking nonsense, isn't it? Right? I think the Banyana one, I mean, there's a couple of comments, but one of them is what we discussed earlier on with Tumi regarding the issues of the stars, where, at this point in time, it is a bit strange, isn't it? That if you win a Women's African Cup of Nations tournament, then in fact you don't get a star. But if you win it continentally for the men's team or the club competitions, then in fact you do get a star. It's a strange one. Here's another comment. Any thoughts on that question about the TV channel, the online TV channel coming out of Kenya? Would you be watching that, listening to it too?
Me, Ashraf, I agree with Fuisa. I'm grateful that Burkina Faso is shutting down all of those institutions of elections that are captured by these imperialist these international bodies. South Africa here also, we need to shut down this political system. Shut down this political system because these politicians are playing games with us, and find a way to have people in parliament our way, and the president of the country, Simon New, elect him by our way. Case in Gachos.
Well, I mean, that's what you think. Find a way. Whether that way is going to be right, I don't know. By the way, just quick thoughts as we get into that Banyana game that I know is going to start imminently. I'm not asking you to make a prediction because, listen, I mean, who's going to predict that Banyana will lose? I don't think anyone. I certainly were never going to do so. But I think the more important one is how important is it for the team to actually qualify for another final and then to go on and defend the trophy. I think it is. It'll be great if they do so. The big question is when they won it the previous time, how did it change the lives of the players and how did it change the lives of women's football in this country? And maybe the same question could be asked about the 2019 World Cup rugby winning team and the 2024 World Cup, have I got it right? 23, right? World Cup rugby winning team. How did it change our country or the team at that time?
Mr. Fresh, good afternoon. Yes. It's a yes for Aaron Motsoaledi for president. He can do better than any.
There we are. He's got support.
Straff, I agree with the gentleman who just spoke 1 minute ago that Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi is the one to replace Cyril Ramaphosa. Dr. Motsoaledi is an honest, powerful guy. He can take this country far. I've been rooting for him for many years. I'm not an ANC member. I'm an AFF member. But if that guy can be president, I'll support him. I think he's the only one there. He's the only one there. Notorious Mabelane Nakono Skagula village.
You'll support him. I tell you what's interesting around that is whether those that actually, well, has he been in the top 6 of the ANC ever? And sometimes you get a person who's hugely popular, very well respected, but not necessarily in the top 6. I think Naledi Pandor would be in the same boat. I know she turned down the chance to be the deputy president at one stage, but by and large, she hasn't been in the top 3, 4 of the ANC. They have to wonder why, isn't it?
Afternoon, Ashraf. I agree with the gentleman who just spoke.
I think I've covered that.
Good afternoon.
No, okay, we've done that already. Right. Maybe there's time for... No, there's no time for another call. I thought I'll try and squeeze that in. So yesterday, this time, just about as we wrapped up the show, we got the news that the Minister of Higher Education had been sacked, right? And we got news of the replacement as well. So we're going to end the show now. I don't know how long it'll take before we get some other breaking news in the world, in South Africa, and around the world. Either way, when it happens, if it happens, we'll have it covered. This is the National Pulse. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Can we catch a date to do it again tomorrow, 3 to 6? Here's the news now. It's 6 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you again, Ashraf. CETA panel was not independent and probe into murder of Eastern Cape Chief Whip. Good evening. The Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training in Parliament says it's concluded that the